Chapter 580. Zhang Xuanyu, Lu Renkuang, and the others walked in and poured out all the sea-swallowing seashells on the ground. Lu Renkuang shivered and said, "If we had known that the arena was so profitable, we wouldn't have gone to sell trinkets." Zhang Xuanyu scolded, "What do you know? After all, there was only one chance to fight in the Wind Thunder arena. When we left, the Wind Thunder town posted new rules. Didn't you see it? Reselling accessories was a long-term solution. Moreover, we didn't know that the arena was so profitable." Xiao Zhan asked curiously, "How much did you earn? How did he get so many sea-swallowing seashells?" Zhang Xuanyu said, "Oh, I just distributed the money to those girls and earned a total of 200 million. After giving out 40 million, I still have 160 million left. After deducting the cost, the net profit is 120 million yuan." Xiao Zhan's eyelids twitched. Did these little bastards spend so much money? However, in Xiao Zhan's opinion, 120 million wasn't a lot. It was just that they didn't try to earn it. If they really tried to earn it themselves, it wouldn't be easy either. Xiao Zhan asked again, "Where's Xia Xiaochan?" Han Fei said with a smile, "I went to ask for money." Are you working with someone else?" Luo Xiaobai was the first to react. If he had only made 100 million, it wouldn't have been worth the hidden fisher of the Wind Thunder arena showing up in person. He wondered what Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan had done. Only Zhang Xuanyu muttered. They had agreed to date, but in the end, they had gone to make money together. Luo Xiaobai was not interested in money. She simply looked at the nine-tailed mantis shrimp, little gold, and the ghost-eye giant crocodile curiously. She couldn't help asking, "That octopus is the third one?" Hearing Luo Xiaobai's question, Lu Renkuang and Zhang Xuanyu both looked at Han Fei. Han Fei said, "Why don't we talk about it when we get home?" "Then let's go back to the Blue Sea town." Xiao Zhan's eyes flickered. It was not impossible for a normal person to have a third contractual spiritual beast. However, Han Fei was only an advanced dangling fisher and had 3 contractual spiritual beasts, so he would probably be the focus of attention. About 2 hours later, Xia Xiaochan came back, travel-worn. As soon as he entered, he saw Han Fei and the others playing fish dragon cards. Each of them had a pile of sea-swallowing seashells beside them. Yes, they were no longer gambling with 1 or 2 mid-quality pearls but with their sea-swallowing seashells, which were all filled with mid-quality pearls. 3 and 2. 3 green turtles and 2 white fish. Lu Renkuang scoffed. "Bigger than you," Zhang Xuanyu muttered, crushed. Luo Xiaobai said, "A bomb." Seeing this, Xia Xiaochan bared her teeth. "Great. I'm asking for money outside, and you're gambling here?" Luo Xiaobai stood up. "Xiaochan, come and play." Xia Xiaochan snorted angrily. "No, I brought the money back." "Oh, how much is it?" Walala, a pile of sea-swallowing seashells fell to the ground like a hill. Xiao Zhan's eyelids twitched. "How much is this?" Xia Xiaochan said, "A total of 1.8 billion. Clang! Xiao Zhan lost his balance and fell to the ground. Lu Renkuang was dumbfounded, and all the cards in Zhang Xuanyu's hand fell to the ground. Han Fei took a deep breath. "You gave Jiang Tong money again?" Xia Xiaochan nodded. "That guy is rather capable. I don't know where he found so many people to bet for him. He made a lot of money 3 times in a row. However, that guy made more than 400 million just by talking. Isn't it too easy to make money?" Han Fei grinned. "That guy is capable of that? But it doesn't matter. Those who really make money are often those who talk. Although he took 400 million, I don't believe that he has more than 300 million in his hands. However, we've really made a fortune. 2 billion is in our account. We're rich now." On the Blue Sea town side, the girls suddenly rose and began to buy things in the Tree Core City in groups. After only 1 hour, all the merchants in the Tree Core City were smiling as if flowers were blossoming when they saw that they were students in the school uniforms of the Blue Sea town. As for the boys on the Blue Sea town side, they all lowered their heads. They should have followed them. At this moment, Xiang Zuozhuo was showing off in front of Li Hani and the others with a smile. "I only bet on 1 game and made 1 million. Zhong Yu said, 'Get your money away from me.'" It's dazzling. Lin Xingmu said, "Don't talk. Leave me alone." Gloomily, Li Hani snorted. "1 million is nothing. It's not enough to buy a high-quality spiritual weapon." Xiang's was said, "But I made it fast. It only took me less than half an hour." Everyone, Jiang Tong had made a fortune at this moment. He hadn't stopped smiling since he came out of the arena. Although he felt that he was in pain when he gave the money to Xia Xiaochan, he still made a fortune. This time, he really made a fortune. He had actually given out a lot of money. He had spent 60 million on gifts, maintaining relationships with his classmates, and expanding his business. He wouldn't have dared to think about it before. Originally, his original plan was to give each of them 1,000 mid-quality pearls. But in the end, he really earned too much, which made him feel embarrassed, so he gave out a little more of it. Jiang Tong felt that if he could make more than 300 million after being robbed by Han Fei once, he would rather be robbed by Han Fei every day. Of course, some were happy and some were sad. On the Fiery Dragon Town side, they were all gloomy. Although the misunderstanding was cleared up later, who could bear it after being slapped in the face by the Blue Sea Town? However, Han Fei was already so strong. What could they do? They couldn't beat him. Someone said, "Sir, we have to ask the president and the mayor to help us. Sir, we can't just let it go. Han Fei borrowed our fame, so we should have a share of the money he made." Xuanen said, "Shut up and wait for the president and the mayor to come back." Luo Xiaobai was staring at the ghost-eye giant crocodile. Just now, the ghost-eye giant crocodile used its petrifying ability and turned a wooden table into a stone, which surprised her. Han Fei and the others were playing cards with a mountain of sea-swallowing seashells in front of them. Among them, Zhang Xuanyu was the one with the most sea-swallowing seashells. He was too lucky. Bam! Just as the four of them were arguing, the door was kicked open. Old Bai walked in angrily, pointed at a group of people and scolded, "I just went to a meeting. How long has it been? All you did was mess around. I'm told that you smashed the Wind Thunder Arena, right? Is there such a thing? Wait, where did the little crocodile come from?" As he talked, Old Bai snatched the ghost-eye giant crocodile, and the latter opened its mouth and spat out a desolation gale. The ghost-eye giant crocodile was too frightened that the newcomer seemed strong. A legendary creature? Old Bai crushed the desolation gale and grabbed the ghost-eye giant crocodile by its neck, before he observed it up and down. What species is this? It's quite strong. The whole treehouse shook because of the ghost-eye giant crocodile's tail. However, it was slapped in the face by Old Bai so hard that it almost doubted its life. Having no choice, the ghost-eye giant crocodile used its petrification ability in panic. However, it found that its petrification ability didn't work on the old man at all. How is it possible? Old Bai frowned. This little crocodile is quite ferocious. Its spiritual power and soul power are very strong. Are you going to make a breakthrough? The ghost-eye giant crocodile was stunned. How the fuck did he see through me? I've been hiding it well. Old Bai nodded slightly. Not bad. It looks good. After the breakthrough, it will probably have the strength of millions of kilograms. In terms of pure strength, it's no worse than an advanced hidden fisher. Where did you catch it? Xiao Zhan snorted. Han Fei, that brat. He won it in the arena. Old Bai. A moment later, Old Bai cursed aloud. No wonder, you bastard. I was wondering why so many people suddenly asked the Thug Academy to ban you from the competition, especially Han Fei. The mayor of the Wind Thunder Town specifically asked you to be banned from the competition. Han Fei, huh? What? Thankfully, I mediated and promised that you wouldn't use any secret techniques or contractual spiritual beasts, so they reluctantly agreed to let you participate in the competition. Didn't I tell you to keep a low profile? Are you always so low-key? Han Fei muttered, when did you tell us to keep a low profile? Besides, now that we're rich, it doesn't matter if we keep a high profile, does it? Old Bai rolled his eyes. All you think about is money. What's the point of having so many mid-quality pearls? Do you really think the exchange rate of mid-quality pearls is high in the unknown place? Second update. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 581. Han Fei and the others were stunned by Old Bai's words. Han Fei had bought intelligence from Uncle Faceless, who said that ultra-quality pearls were equivalent to low-quality spiritual stones. In the unknown place, high-quality pearls, ultra-quality pearls, and low-quality spiritual stones were the mainstream currencies. This was also the reason why he wanted to make money. 2 billion might seem like a lot, but if you looked at it from another perspective, you would realize that it wasn't much at all. Old Bai walked to them and said, "Come on, give me all the money." Everyone? In an instant, except for Luo Xiaobai, the four of them immediately stood in front of the sea-swallowing seashell. Han Fei waved his hand and collected the sea-swallowing seashells. Han Fei said, "President, you can't learn from Junior Uncle Faceless. Do you think it's easy for me? It wasn't easy for me to get this much money, and you want to take it all? Isn't that too much?" Xia Xiaochan nodded. "Yes, it wasn't easy for me to earn it." Zhang Xuanyu, "Principal, we are poor." Lu Renquang was secretly stuffing his sea-swallowing seashell. "Are you kidding me? Old Bai still wants it?" Old Bai didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Little bastards, do you really think I will rob you of your money?" Everyone nodded in agreement. "More than that? You used to fight for 10,000 mid-quality pearls. Now that 2 billion was in front of you, how could you not be tempted?" Old Bai turned his head and looked at Xiao Zhan. "Tell them." Xiao Zhan smiled speechlessly and said, "All right, don't worry about giving the money to the principal. He won't embezzle your money, but if you take so many mid-quality pearls to the unknown place, it will be hard for you to spend them." "But aren't mid-quality pearls a popular currency? Let's go and exchange." Xiao Zhan said, "Fine, since you are destined to go to the unknown place, I will tell you about it." Everyone was stunned. "There was a way?" Xiao Zhan asked, "Do you know where mid-quality pearls come from?" Everyone shook their heads. They really didn't know. All they knew was that it was money. Xiao Zhan said, "The pearls mined from the ocean can store spiritual energy. In the unknown place, people used high-quality or ultra-quality pearls because they contained a lot of spiritual energy. When they run out of spiritual energy, the high-quality pearls will become mid-quality pearls, and the ones below that will become low-quality pearls." It occurred to him that the high-quality and ultra-quality pearls in Forge the Universe did contain spiritual energy. At that time, he was a little puzzled, thinking that the difference between them was the difference in spiritual energy. Han Fei said in surprise, "So, mid-quality pearls are actually the waste left by those people in the unknown place? Completely useless?" Zhang Xuanyu, "So, we've actually been treating trash as treasure?" Xiao Zhan shook his head. "You can't say that. After all, when there were so many people, there would be a need to trade. They couldn't exchange items for items like in ancient times. There had to be a form of currency. The mid-quality pearls that have run out of spiritual energy are actually not bad in quality. They can greatly satisfy the mutual transactions between human beings." Suddenly, Han Fei said, "No, that's not right. If mid-quality pearls are continuously shipped back from the unknown place, it will inevitably lead to the continuous increase of the currency of human society. If there are more and more mid-quality pearls, it will cause inflation, and the purchasing power will plummet." Inflation? Xiao Zhan couldn't help but be taken aback. Although he hadn't heard of this term before, it seemed quite appropriate. Xiao Zhan nodded. "Yes, as there are more and more mid-quality pearls, the purchasing power will plummet. Therefore, every 100 years, the Thousand-Star City will recycle a huge number of mid-quality pearls, destroy them, and turn them into energy that will return to the ocean. At that time, the purchasing power of mid-quality pearls will rise again." Han Fei was stunned. "Throw them into the ocean? Where are they? Let's find them." Xiao Zhan, Old Bai said, "Shut up and listen to the class." Xiao Zhan said, "This destruction is not dumping, but crushing the massive low-quality and mid-quality pearls into powder and dispersing them between heaven and earth. Although the mid-quality pearls are completely empty of spiritual energy, the substances that make up the mid-quality pearls contain energy, but very little energy. Just like the sand at the bottom of the sea, they contain energy, but no one will dig them out. But after accumulating, the energy is not small. They will be fed back to the ocean and appear in another state. Do you understand? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Yes, the substances that make up the mid-quality pearls will be absorbed by fish or other creatures and transformed into something else. Zhang Xuanyu and the others also understood, but they didn't quite understand it. Only Han Fei exclaimed, "The law of conservation of energy?" Xiao Zhan asked, "What? Don't use these fancy words. Speak human language." Han Fei coughed and said, "That is to say, assuming that our world is closed, the energy it possesses is fixed. No matter how much energy we take from the world and the infinite ocean, the energy itself doesn't decrease, but just exists in a different form. Either it increases our own physique, or it disperses and returns to the world. Anyway, the total amount remains the same." Xiao Zhan and Old Bai looked at each other in bewilderment. It seemed that Han Fei understood it quite well. Xiao Zhan said, "Yes, that's right." Han Fei's face suddenly turned red. "So, our so-called cultivation is to constantly turn a part of this world into a part of ourselves. The more we contain, the stronger we will be, right?" Lu Renkuang nodded. "That's easy to understand. It's like when I eat a lot of things, those things are not mine, but after I eat them, they become mine." Luo Xiaobai asked, "Wait, then what about those spiritual plants that I control and summon?" Without waiting for Xiao Zhan to speak, Han Fei said, "Isn't it simple? It means that you borrow some energy from this world for temporary use and have to return it after using it up. As your strength improves, you can borrow more and more energy." Zhang Xuanyu asked, "Then aren't we soul warriors consuming our own energy?" Han Fei explained, "So, an excellent soul warrior must practice a combat skill that can not only fight but also absorb spiritual energy, so that he can last a long time." Xia Xiaochen asked, "Then what's with the stealth of our hunters?" Han Fei was taken aback. "Is stealth related to energy?" Xiao Zhan and Old Bai looked at each other in bewilderment. Damn, how did it change from currency to cultivation? Besides, it took them a long time to understand these principles before. But why did these geniuses, especially Han Fei, seem to be born with this knowledge? Old Bai and Xiao Zhan frowned. Geniuses who could cultivate were not geniuses, but those with high comprehension were. As far as they could see, Han Fei's comprehension was really fucking way too abnormal. Cough cough, Old Bai said, "Hunters belong to a special category. To become a hunter, you must first have a good understanding of space. Maybe you don't know it, but if you don't have this talent, you can't become a hunter. This has nothing to do with energy." Han Fei asked, "President, what is knife intent and other things? What are faith and these things? These things are also a kind of energy, right? Or rather, this is a kind of advanced energy that we don't understand yet." Old Bai paused and was silent for a while before he said, "It can also be understood as a more advanced energy. This kind of energy is said to come from heaven and earth, but it's not from heaven and earth. It's more like a law, a kind of mighty power. Only after you reach a certain level will you understand this mystery. Now, hand over all your money, and I'll find a way to exchange it for high-quality pearls for you." "Can I?" Hearing this, Han Fei and the others hurriedly threw out all the mid-quality pearls they had just collected. Only Han Fei kept 100 million. This 100 million could be used as the development fund for the Thug Academy and the Fish Dragons. However, Han Fei suddenly remembered something and asked, "President, I have a question. Can low-quality spiritual stones be exchanged for mid-quality pearls?" Han Fei suddenly remembered that he exchanged a low-quality spiritual stone for 100 million mid-quality pearls at Junior Uncle Faceless' place. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. If mid-quality pearls were just used as pure currency, how could the ratio be 1:10,000? Old Bai asked, "Do you have low-quality spiritual stones?" Han Fei grinned. "A few." Old Bai said, "This is related to the content of spiritual energy. One high-quality pearl contains about 1,000 points of spiritual energy. To balance the economy, there is a rule that 100 mid-quality pearls can be exchanged for one high-quality pearl. In fact, in private, no one is willing to exchange. One ultra-quality pearl contains about 10,000 points of spiritual energy, which is only 10 times that of a high-quality pearl. At this time, even fewer people are willing to exchange ultra-quality pearls for mid-quality pearls. If a fool insists on exchanging, there will be another 10 times gap, which means that one ultra-quality pearl can be exchanged for 10,000 mid-quality pearls. As he spoke, Old Bai squinted at Han Fei. One low-quality spiritual stone and one ultra-quality pearl both contain about 10,000 points of spiritual energy. So, they can also be exchanged for 10,000 mid-quality pearls. Of course, only a fool will exchange for them. Han Fei was immediately upset. It seems that I'm that fool. It turns out that there is a difference in spiritual energy between the two. Fortunately, Han Fei didn't exchange much from Junior Uncle Faceless. Otherwise, he would have suffered a great loss. After collecting their sea-swallowing seashells, Old Bai cursed, "Get the hell out of here and do whatever you're supposed to do. By the way, don't make trouble. Your goal isn't to make money, but to win the 36-town competition and let the Thug Academy's reputation resound throughout the 36 towns." After driving them away, Old Bai shook his head. "Xiao Zhan?" Old Bai covered his chest and asked him to calm down. With that, Old Bai said to the ghost-eyed giant crocodile who was pretending to be dead in the corner, "Come with me." The author says, these chapters are transitional chapters about the setting of the world economic system. They are part of the worldview. None of them are straightforward. I'll be more straightforward in a few days. End of this chapter. Chapter 582. He Xiaoyu and the others, as excellent great fishing masters who came to observe and learn, could not live in the central tree, so they could only live in the regular trees nearby. In fact, the interior decoration of these ordinary trees was not bad. The special thing about the central tree was that it highlighted its identity. Those who could live on the central tree at this time were all dangling fishers. Those who could live on the top floor were the strongest of the strong, such as Han Fei and the others. He Xiaoyu was sitting on the windowsill with her legs bent and her chin in her hand. She was still reminiscing. Han Fei was too strong in the battle today. He was growing too fast, so fast that no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't keep up with him. A girl's mind was in a mess. He Xiaoyu was thinking that they would leave in half a year. Their target was the unknown place. What kind of place was that? He didn't even have the right to go. Not to mention the unknown place, she wasn't even qualified to go to the level 3 fishery. Just a few months ago, He Xiaoyu and the others tried to apply to go to the level 3 fishery, only to be mercilessly rejected by their teacher. His teacher would never allow such a thing to happen. It was on that day that Xiang Zuozhua and the others returned, battered and exhausted. After that, Lin Xingmu, Zhong Yu, Su Yebai, and the others all returned. Zhong Yu's strength rose by 2 realms, while Xiang Zuozhua's strength rose by 1 realm. He Xiaoyu felt that they were improving too fast, so she asked if she could go. In the end, no matter who they asked, they were all stopped. She remembered that Xiang Zuozhua told her solemnly, "Don't go to the level 3 fishery before you become a dangling fisher." Even dangling fishers had to be very careful. Over there, life was the most important thing. The rest, sea-swallowing seashells, fishing boats, are not important. At that time, He Xiaoyu also asked Han Fei about the level 3 fishery. At that time, Xiang Zuozhua didn't want to tell her. But in the end, he still told her that Han Fei was hunted by countless people in the level 3 fishery, and he didn't dare to say that he knew Han Fei. From then on, He Xiaoyu knew that the level 3 fishery was very, very difficult. "He Xiaoyu, do you want to eat skewers?" Suddenly, He Xiaoyu heard a familiar voice. He looked down, only to see the 5 of them, each holding a skewer of fish balls and eating. Han Fei had 5 or 6 skewers in his hand and was looking up at her. He Xiaoyu was stunned. "I wait for me." He Xiaoyu retracted her head in a panic. Han Fei took a bite of the fish ball and glanced at Xia Shaochan. "How generous." Xia Shaochan rolled her eyes. "I don't mind." Hearing Han Fei's cry, Xia Wushuang, Xiang Nan and Wang Baiyu craned their heads too. For this exchange competition, only the 4 of them had come. The original Chen Qing and the others, under the washing of time, because of the problem of their aptitude and cultivation progress, they eventually faded into obscurity. Among them, He Xiaoyu was not a heavenly talent. Even though she had little read, it was still not enough. However, since a few years ago He Xiaoyu had been training crazily and became a hunter, which made her stand out. And Wang Baiyu was an armorist. The elders in the family were all armorists, so they were naturally talented. As for the path of a spirit gatherer, he didn't succeed in the end. The heavenly talent in the village was no longer shining. Xia Wushuang wasn't weak in the first place. It was only natural that he was outstanding. Xiang Nan, on the other hand, had risen too. He Xiaoyu ran down the stairs, followed by Xia Wushuang and the other two. Xia Wushuang was rather upset when he saw Han Fei. He hugged him for comfort and mumbled, "That's too much. If I had known that octopus weirdo was you, I would have bet everything I had." Han Fei was stunned. "You went too?" Xia Wushuang nodded. "Of course. We went to scout ahead of time and planned to find a good place tomorrow. Who knew that you would go to the arena before you're but even warmed up?" Wang Baiyu shrugged. "I didn't recognize you." Xiang Nan glanced at Han Fei. "I didn't even recognize you after a year." Han Fei punched him. "Naughty boy. Let's go. Let's find a place to have skewers?" Xiang Nan smiled. "Let's go. I can't beat you in a fight, but I can definitely masturbate." Han Fei was stunned. Yes, you're very good at masturbating, Xiang Nan. Why do I feel that there's something wrong with that?" Naturally, Han Fei had seen He Xiaoyu and the others on this trip. However, they were the last ones to enter the teleportation array when Old Bai took them there. Later, they went to the Wind Thunder Town and the Tree Core City. Then, they were assigned to different dormitories, so they didn't talk to each other. Now that they were free, they naturally had to meet up. They couldn't pretend that they didn't know each other just because they were strong. Very soon they found a restaurant. Lu Renquang was the most enthusiastic one to make a reservation with the boss and paid the fee generously. The 9 of them sat down around a big steak. Han Fei and Lu Renquang quickly took out a barbecue grill. On the table, chili, cumin, garlic, fish oil. Everybody else in the restaurant was dumbfounded. Han Fei quickly brushed the oil on the grill. "Don't just stand there. Grill it." He Xiaoyu took over a barbecue grill and looked at the weird meat on it. "What meat is this?" Han Fei said, "It's piranhas I got from the level 3 fishery." Pooh. Xia Wushuang was stunned. "Isn't your taste too strong? Piranhas?" Zhang Xuanyu said, "Piranhas can't eat humans, so they can only eat other sea creatures." "But Han Fei, when did you catch them?" Han Fei said, "There are more than 30 kinds of creatures in my sea-swallowing seashell. I caught them by the way." Everyone, Xia Xiaochan took out a lot of razor clams too. "Can I make this?" Han Fei glanced at them. "This is the same way as the sea clams. They taste good with garlic." Lu Renquang saw that a few of them were still fine, so he took out a pile of sea spirit sunflower seeds and said, "This is more advanced than the sea melon seeds. I got them in the seaweed city wall." Luo Xiaobai asked, "When did you do it?" "When we were taking a break." Luo Xiaobai took out a dozen spiritual fruits from her sea-swallowing seashell and said, "Specialty of the seaborne prairie. Have a taste." He Xiaoyu and the others were stunned. "Are you serious about going to the level 3 fishery?" Xiang Nan looked at the plate of spiritual fruits covetously and then gave up. "Forget it. Let's eat the skewers first. I'm afraid that I'll have to start cultivating after I finish them." Luo Xiaobai nodded. "It's okay. These spiritual fruits are neither spiritual energy fruits nor energy fruits. They can nourish your meridians and bones. It's fine to eat 1 or 2. Wang Baiyu nodded. "Thank you very much." "You're welcome." While Han Fei and the others were bustling, the other people in the restaurant were dumbfounded. "Are you fucking serious? Where did this nouveau riche come from to flaunt his wealth? Are all the spiritual fruits on plates?" When the sizzling sound of oil was heard, the fragrance of minced garlic and chili began to spread, and the group of people began to swallow their saliva. Someone asked, "Young people over there, what are you eating?" It smells delicious. Lu Renquang glanced at the man. Then smell it more. The man, after the meal, everybody went back. On the way, Xia Xiaochan suddenly said, He Xiaoyu, you've chosen the wrong path as a hunter. He Xiaoyu was confused. Xia Xiaochan thought for a moment and handed over a jade slip. When you walk, you still use the footwork of a soul warrior. When you hunt alone, it's very easy to be exposed. Also, the rhythm of your breathing is wrong. When you're invisible, you'll be discovered immediately if you encounter a powerful person. I have a book here. Take a look. He Xiaoyu blushed. Thank you. Han Fei kicked Lu Renquang. Lu Renquang? Han Fei winked. Lu Renquang immediately understood. Oh. Wang Baiyu. Brother Wang, come here, I think there's something wrong with you as an armorist. Zhang Xuanyu took the hint. Brother Xiang, I have a problem. Let's discuss it. Seeing Han Fei's behavior, He Xiaoyu was stunned for a moment. You, Han Fei said with a smile, it's nothing. We help each other and make progress together. After a moment, everybody went back to sleep after the communication. When He Xiaoyu and the others arrived, Xiang Nan suddenly said to Han Fei, wait a minute. Let's talk. Han Fei said to Xia Xiaochan and the others, you go back first. I have something to do. Luo Xiaobai nodded. But Xia Xiaochan added, come back soon. Han Fei nodded. Got it. After a moment, Han Fei and Xiang Nan turned a few hundred meters away side by side. Xiang Nan frowned. Han Fei, what's the meaning of this? You didn't just pass by, did you? Did you bring them here to teach us? Han Fei said with a casual smile, you know, the unknown place. We can't come back anytime soon. We're all from the Heavenly Water Village. I can't help you with anything else, but I can't do anything that will affect your foundation. Xiang Nan sighed and said, do you know that He Xiaoyu works very hard? She has been working very hard since you first showed your talent. Han Fei smiled. I know. Xiang Nan said, no, you don't. It's all because of you that she can have her current achievements. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. Then dissuade her. It's not bad to be a great fishing master. She can also be a dangling fisher, but don't be too excellent. Xiang Nan said angrily, she can only be good enough for you if she's excellent. Looking at Xiang Nan's eyes, Han Fei said solemnly, she can be excellent, but she can't be too excellent, or she will die. I don't want her to die, nor do I want you to die. Xiang Nan glared at Han Fei. Have you ever thought that you would die? Han Fei roared in a low voice. I killed thousands of people directly and indirectly in the level 3 fishery. I'll try my best not to die. Xiang Nan trembled. On the other side of the tree, He Xiaoyu's body trembled too. He Xiaoyu even burst into tears when she heard that. Of course, Han Fei knew that she was there. He was talking to her. Han Fei patted Xiang Nan's shoulder. Well, keep an eye on her. Xiang Nan was silent for a moment. What about you? Han Fei thought for a moment and turned to leave. Han Fei thought of the agreement in the undersea city, Sun Mu, Tangge Old Jiang, and his father who was said to have died a long time ago. I still have a long way to go. Han Fei left. Xiang Nan stood for a long time. However, after only a few steps, he saw He Xiaoyu who was wiping her eyes. Xiang Nan opened his mouth. Did you hear that? He Xiaoyu turned around and said, he's the only one who can. Who does he think he is? I'm going back to cultivate. If you like Fishing God, please collect. Fishing God's hot bar updates the fastest. Chapter 583. Although Han Fei had rarely seen He Xiaoyu since he entered the Thug Academy, it didn't mean that Han Fei didn't know. He Xiaoyu's strength was clear to Han Fei. Han Fei knew very well how much progress she had made. But it was not enough. Some things couldn't be changed by hard work. Therefore, he preferred He Xiaoyu, Xiang Nan, and Xia Wushuang to live an easy life. After all, cultivation was not something that could be achieved through hard work and diligence alone. Although Han Fei didn't know what the unknown place was like, it was definitely much crueler than the level 3 fishery. The so-called Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 fisheries were just a paradise outlined by the strong. Once they left these paradises, who knew what would happen? What would they encounter? However, people's fate was uncertain. Han Fei just thought about it. No one knew what the future would be like. The next day, Xiao Zhan roared, "Get up! Why are you sleeping? Don't you have enough time? You only know how to eat and sleep instead of cultivating." When Xiao Zhan shouted, Han Fei opened his eyes. He had been reading the spirit-gathering scripture all night. Originally, he repeatedly said that he would study arrays after returning from the Level 3 fishery. After coming back, he did study it. During the month in the Heavenly Water Village, he did do something, but he didn't understand this super array. However, he learned one thing: floating stones. Because of the floating stones, fishing boats could fly into the sky and enter the sea. Therefore, he was very sure that the so-called villages and towns should actually be wrapped in floating stones, followed by arrays. This night, he mainly studied killing arrays. However, things like arrays were too mysterious. In general, they were just some messy lines, a kind of pattern that could borrow the mysterious energy of heaven and earth. Even in the spirit-gathering scripture, which old Jiang might have studied for a lifetime, there were only finished arrays, which only described the composition, elements, and essentials of these arrays. However, the spirit-gathering scripture didn't introduce how to create them, or rather, how to construct the most suitable formation. There wasn't even a spirit-gathering array. Therefore, when Han Fei went to read the spirit-gathering scripture for the second time, he found this problem. From another perspective, old Jiang was actually sorting out, deducing, and recording the existing arrays. If old Jiang hadn't gone to the unknown place at this time, Han Fei would have followed him and asked questions every day. Now, he could only go back and ask hexagon starfish after the exchange competition. On the other side, Xia Xiaochan came out of the room in a daze. Lu Renkuang came in from outside with a bunch of skewers in his mouth. Due to the abundance of trees in the tree core city, skewers were sold everywhere. If Han Fei lived here for a long time, he would even want to get a Takeshi ball. When everyone was in place, Old Bai and Xiao Zhan were already sitting there. Zhang Xuanyu said, "Principal, everyone has gathered downstairs. Shall we go?" Old Bai said slowly, "Wait." "How long?" Old Bai said, "Wenren, you should be here soon." Everyone was surprised. "It's only been 1 day. Didn't they say they would arrive in 2 days?" Old Bai said, "We're going to catch a contractual spiritual beast. If we run into other people, they'll say that the students in our school are so miserable that they can't even catch a contractual spiritual beast." Half an hour later, Han Fei said, "Principal, they're all gone." Old Bai said leisurely, "There's no hurry. The strong schools are usually the last to show up." Everyone? After another quarter of an hour or so, suddenly, Wenren Yu fell from the sky. She looked at the principal and said, "I've been waiting for you at the entrance of the arena for a long time. What are you doing here?" Old Bai, "Everyone," Han Fei muttered, "the principal is waiting for you to pretend." Old Bai glared at Han Fei. "Let's go. Remember, today is a day to remember. Our Thug Academy will re-enter the vision of the 36 towns." Then, Zhang Xuanyu had already approached Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan. "What contractual spiritual beast did you get? Is it an exotic type or a legendary type?" Chu Jinan shrugged. "Well, it's actually rare." Ling Yuan nodded. "I was lucky to get an exotic creature." Wenren Yu rolled her eyes. "Do you think legendary creatures are as common as cabbages?" However, on the other side, Xiao Zhan carried the ghost-eye giant crocodile that had become 30 centimeters long and stuffed it into Han Fei's hand. "You snatched it back. Take it with you." Wenren Yu's eyes widened when she saw the little crocodile in Han Fei's hand. "A legendary creature. Where did you get it?" Xiao Zhan said, "They snatched it yesterday." Wenren Yu? Wenren Yu asked, "Where did they snatch it? I'm going to snatch two too." Old Bai changed the topic. "Let's go or we'll be late." Luo Xiaobai said, "We're already late." The ghost-eye giant crocodile was speechless. It felt that it had just come out of a tiger's den and then entered a wolf's den. Why were all the people it met so powerful? At this moment, the ghost-eyed giant crocodile's heart sank. In the arena. At this moment, there was already a sea of people. There were less than 20,000 people who came to participate in the competition in the 36 towns. At this moment, all the seats in the innermost circle of the arena were occupied. The rest were all local residents of the Wind Thunder town. They mainly came to see how the outstanding young people of their town swept the 36 towns. When Han Fei arrived, he was stopped at the door. The guard said in front of everyone, "The competition has entered the stage of drawing lots. Unauthorized persons are not allowed to enter." Old Bai immediately glared at him. "Do I look like an unauthorized person to you? Are your eyes crooked? Don't you know me, the president of the Thug Academy?" The guard glanced at Old Bai. "I don't know you. Wait here. I'll inform the chief guard." Old Bai took out a token angrily and almost pressed it on the guard's face. "Look at it clearly and inform the head of the guard?" Old Bai's aura burst out slightly, and the guard was so scared that his face turned pale. Han Fei glanced at Old Bai. "Mr. President, we seem to have failed to do that." "Shut up. Let them in." A voice transmission appeared outside the arena, which seemed to be from a strong master. Old Bai snorted and led everyone into the arena. When Han Fei and the others appeared in the arena, they attracted the attention of a lot of people nearby. Many people were puzzled. Wasn't the arena closed? Why did someone come in at this time? However, when someone saw Han Fei, he was immediately infuriated. "Damn it, it's that jerk Han Fei. Asshole, is this the guy who pretended to be octopus weirdo to swindle people? Shameless, shameless, such a person doesn't deserve to participate in the competition. I'm glad that I can't beat him, or I wouldn't have suppressed my temper." Wenrenyu, Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan looked at each other, feeling that something was wrong. "We're only one day late. Why are we so notorious?" Han Fei, however, stretched out his two hands and raised two middle fingers at the group of people arrogantly. "Son of a bitch, he's still provoking us? I can't hold back anymore." Someone was lost for words. "Then why don't you do it?" The man said angrily. "If this weren't a match, I would have beaten him up." On Han Fei's side, Old Bai said casually, "Xiao Zhan, take them to their seats." "I'm going to." Old Bai stepped out and appeared in the president's seat in the next second, which startled the presidents next to him. Wu Junwei, president of the First Academy, looked awful. "Bai Kongyi, you're disrupting the venue." Su Tianji, president of the Second Academy, glanced at Old Bai and mocked. "You were too fast for the audience to see clearly. You should have walked down from the sky." Chu Mingxue, Old Bai calmly took out a bunch of sea spirit seeds, drinks, strawberries, carrots, and other things, and put them on the table in front of the angry eyes of the weak principals, as if he were here to watch the fun. Kong Xian, the mayor of the Blue Sea town, coughed. "Old Bai, can you watch your image?" Bai Kongyi snorted. "The match will take a long time. If I sit here and do nothing, wouldn't I be an idiot? Little Kong, come on, I brought you some spiritual fruits that I planted. Have a bite when you're free." Kong Xian. At the center was a resolute middle-aged man who looked dignified. He looked back at Old Bai and said, "President of the Thug Academy, this is the venue." Old Bai sneered. "For me, this is a stage. If you like Fishing God, please collect. Fishing God's hot bar updates the fastest." Chapter 584. Old Bai was so arrogant that he seemed to be a completely different person from his usual image. This was because everyone knew that the rise of the Thug Academy was unstoppable. After 30 years, the Thug Academy dared to break into the 36 towns again, which meant that they were ready. Especially yesterday, Han Fei defeated 2 masters in a row in the Wind Thunder Arena, defeated a legendary creature, and defeated a legendary creature. From this incident alone, the presidents and mayors understood that the Thug Academy's rise to the top was unstoppable. That was also why the mayors and presidents of the Thug Academy demanded that some people of the Thug Academy not use their naturally endowed spiritual beasts and contractual spiritual beasts in the arena. Of course, if an expert that could rival them appeared, they would still use it. However, if such a character hadn't appeared, and the students of the Thug Academy had used various means, then this summit wouldn't have been so meaningful. At this moment, Xiao Zhan led the students to the seats of the Blue Sea Town. In the first row, there were 10 empty seats reserved for them. Under countless gazes, Han Fei and the others walked to their exclusive seats with smiles on their faces. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were whispering to each other. Chu Jinan said, "I feel that everyone is very hostile to us." Ling Yuan rolled her eyes. "What do you mean by very hostile? I feel like they're going to rush up and beat us up." Chu Jinan asked, "Did senior brother and the others do something big here when we were not here yesterday?" Ling Yuan nodded. "Definitely." When they passed by the fiery dragon town, the eyes of the students were burning. When they passed by the cloud-soaring town, the students and teachers all looked at them enviously. Someone whispered, "It's him. He helped us yesterday." Someone remarked, "I'm told that this senior brother is very strong. Even the hidden fisher of the Wind Thunder Arena intervened yesterday." Someone exclaimed, "How great would it be if our cloud-soaring town could also produce such a monstrous genius?" Suddenly, Zhang Xuanyu sensed something and said to Han Fei telepathically, "There's an acquaintance." "We're in another town. How could there be an acquaintance?" Zhang Xuanyu said, "Have you forgotten that we saved a lot of people in the abyssal chasm? A few of them greeted me just now." As soon as Zhang Xuanyu finished speaking, a few voices sounded in Han Fei's mind. "Brother Han, I am Yuan Engraving Town Zhang Qian. Thank you for saving my life." "Brother Han, Water Overflowing Towns Yu Guangdong thanks you for saving my life." "Brother Han, Anha Town's Wang Cheng, I can't thank you enough. If you have time, come visit my Anha Town." Han Fei looked at them one by one, only to see that someone nodded slightly now and then. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. At the beginning, his original intention was actually very simple. He just didn't want these people to starve to death. It was better to be killed than to starve to death. However, at this moment, there were actually quite a number of people who had come to participate in the friendly competition after recovering their strength. They were still the outstanding figures of their respective towns. Xiao Zhan turned his head and glanced at them. "You two have a lot of connections." Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu both grinned. As soon as they sat down, the mayor of the Wind Thunder Town said, "Referees, take your places. Students from the 36 towns, please get ready. The matchups for the first round have been randomly selected. The match will start in 100 minutes. In the arena, dozens of referees appeared, all of whom were hanging fishers. At this moment, each of them occupied a place. The entire arena was divided into a total of 10 matches. It seemed that 10 matches would be played at the same time. However, it made sense. There were too many students from the 36 towns participating in the competition. Although there were only 300 participants from each school, there were 10,800 people from the 36 towns. If every 10 matches were played, 5,400 matches would be played in the first round, which was impossible to finish in one day. Lu Renquang couldn't help but ask, "Can you watch 10 matches at once?" Luo Xiaobai nodded. "Just watch the matches that interest you. It's best to learn from them." Zhang Xuanyu grinned. "Although it's a bit boring, it's good to find something that interests me." Wenren looked at Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan and said, "You too, watch carefully. No matter how weak a person is, there is usually something you can learn from him." Not only Wenren, but almost all the teachers in the towns were educating the students at this moment. A teacher said, "Open your eyes wide, especially the great fishing masters who came to watch the competition. You are still in the mortal realm. You must seize this opportunity. The 36 town exchange competition is very rare. No matter who you are, you may have something special. Their battle techniques can dazzle your eyes. How much you can absorb depends on yourself." A teacher said, "Watch carefully. After this exchange competition, everyone must write a review of their experience. Don't be sloppy. A teacher reminded, "Students, you must seize this rare opportunity. Don't miss it. Watching this competition will be of great help to your future cultivation. Don't be distracted." Among them, the most serious group of people were the teachers and students from the cloud-soaring town. Everyone's eyes widened without the teacher's reminder. This time, about 600 people came from the cloud-soaring town. Among them, only 100 dangling fishers participated in the competition. The remaining dangling fishers and great fishing masters were all here to watch the competition. Because the cloud-soaring town was weak, they didn't want to send a large number of students to the unknown place for now. Therefore, the 100 people who participated in the competition were all pushed out. Ling Ling said, "Everyone listen up. After this exchange competition, go back and cultivate immediately. Don't neglect it. If you make a breakthrough, go to the level 3 fishery carefully." "Yes, teacher." While other people were extremely nervous and expectant, Han Fei felt uncomfortable all over. Xia Xiaochan glanced at Han Fei with a smile. "I've been watching you." Han Fei muttered, "Don't laugh." He Xiao Yu glared at Han Fei hatefully. Han Fei thought to himself, "I won't look back. I won't look back." 100 seconds passed in the blink of an eye. Immediately, the referees in the arena began to speak. Yuan Yi from the Golden Dragon Academy from the Million Gold Town versus Gan Ji from the Eternal Peace Academy from the Ninglan Town. Enter the number 1 arena. Hu He from the Triumph Town versus Yang Jinchuan from the Red Moon Academy from the Red Moon Town. Get ready. Flame Dragon Town Blazing Academies Hu Li Xin versus Sea Source Town Flying Sea Academies Pang Yi. Enter the second arena. Shintao Town, Raging Wave Academy, Yan Rong, Tianwu Town, Tianmu Academy, Shui Weiwei. Get ready. Zhang Nanshang from Waterfall Academy from Blue Sea Town versus Chui Yu from Tianhe Academy from Anhe Town. White Platform Town's Fengtai Academies Fan Ming, Shuimi Town's Thousand Waters Academies Liang Qiu. Get ready. The person whose name was called stood up immediately and walked towards the arena with a solemn expression. On the Blue Sea Town side, when Zhang Nanshang, who was called, got up, a group of people nearby shouted, "Nanshang, you can do it. Brother Shang, kill him. Ah Shang, don't be afraid. Just do it." The leading teacher of the Third Academy roared, "Don't dawdle. Hurry up. Remember, don't hold back. If something goes wrong, the hanging fishers will take action." Soon, 20 people were in position. Those who were called had already moved to the first row. At this moment, he was looking nervously at the arena. After all, 36 towns were going to compete in the friendly competition this time. It was no longer a matter of personal honor. What they represented at this moment was the face of each town. Everyone knew that it was fine if they couldn't win or lose this battle, but they definitely had to fight with their own momentum. In the arena, the referees all looked cold. After the players were in position, they shouted almost at the same time, "Ready, begin." At the moment the word "begin" was said, phantoms of spiritual beasts and contractual spiritual beasts appeared in the arena. Some armorists poured out armor from their boxes. Some manipulators threw vines and grasses at the contestants. A soul warrior immediately used a secret technique, causing a cloud of dust to fly up. Seeing this scene, Han Fei couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, "They're really going all out." Wenren Yu sat next to Han Fei. "Of course, don't you see how many pairs of eyes are watching? So, even if they don't seem to be strong enough, they're still shocking when they're fierce." At this moment, Han Fei felt that He Xiaoyu's gaze behind him disappeared. She was probably attracted by the battle. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan widened their eyes and glanced around, as if trying to take in all the battlefields at once. However, for a few people, such as Han Fei's team, and even Li Hani's team, they had a choice of targets. In the arena, the most powerful one was Gan Ji from the Ninglan town, a soul warrior. His footwork was weird, he held a huge sword, and he had a crab as his spiritual beast. His attacks were the fiercest. In less than 3 minutes, 9 matches had ended, and the last one was in the field of the armorists, which was a protracted battle. 1 round, 2 rounds. In the 17th round, a referee shouted, Han Fei from the Thug Academy from the Blue Sea Town versus Xie Chuan from the Twin Dragons Academy from the Long Dragon Town. Chapter 585. When Han Fei came to the arena, someone immediately roared, "Kill him! Kill Han Fei! He's a liar! He cheated a lot of money from me yesterday." The audience of the Wind Thunder Town was roaring. Of course, they didn't have any hope in their hearts. Those who were in the arena yesterday all knew that although Han Fei was shameless, he was really strong. In the Wind Thunder Town's territory, two people were trembling with anger. Ming Kuan was trembling all over. It's this bastard who pretended to be Octopus Weirdo. When he was in the arena yesterday, he had the illusion that he was sympathetic to Han Fei. When he woke up and heard Han Fei's bad deeds, he almost ran to the Tree Core City to get even with this guy. Jing Changfeng was also aggrieved. Yesterday, the spiritual attack that he was so proud of didn't work at all. Even the powerful ghost god chain couldn't bind this guy, who made him look like a fool. How could he not be angry? In the seats of the Wind Thunder Town, someone said, "Kuan, is this Han Fei?" Ming Kuan nodded. "Very strong. It's said that when he fought with me yesterday, all his injuries were fake." Someone patted Ming Kuan on the shoulder and said, "It's okay. I heard about the legend of this Thug Academy. If he wants to defeat the 36 towns, he has to ask the Wind Thunder Town first." Someone grinned. "Of course we can't underestimate him, but how can we be convinced if we don't fight him?" On the arena. Of course, Xie Chuan knew Han Fei. Han Fei made such a big fuss yesterday. Every student in the town knew him. However, Xie Chuan didn't come to the arena yesterday, so he didn't see Han Fei fight. And what he heard most was not how he defeated the masters of the Wind Thunder Town, but how shameless he was. There were very few descriptions of his combat power. Xie Chuan said solemnly, "I know you are very strong, but I can't avoid it now. I will try my best and I hope you can too." Han Fei nodded, took out a small branch, and looked at Xie Chuan. "Hey, come on, Xie Chuan." Many people in the audience were stunned. "Can't you respect your opponent?" Han Fei was very serious. "Didn't you see that his spiritual beast had come out? Why are you holding a twig?" On Xie Chuan's side, he fused with a giant squid, a single-horned shark, and a mess-swallowing worm. In addition, Xie Chuan seemed to have used some kind of secret technique to raise his strength to the peak, exceeding the theoretical limit of a peak-level dangling fisher. Xie Chuan shouted, "Han Fei, don't insult me. Do your best." Han Fei picked his ear with one hand. I know. "Why did you shout so loudly?" Xie Chuan asked. "Why are you holding a branch?" The smile on Han Fei's face disappeared. "I just snapped a branch this morning. Isn't that enough respect?" With that said, Han Fei waved the branch, and a knife light tens of meters long swept out of thin air. "Holy shit, what the hell? Is that made from a tree branch?" Many people were dumbfounded. The corners of Chu Jinan's and Ling Yuan's mouths twitched. This move was designed for the two of them. It was so horrible. He Xiaoyu and the others were all stunned. How could a branch be so powerful? The students who were cheering for Xie Chuan on the Long Dragon Town's side were all dumbfounded. This? So terrifying? When Han Fei slashed out with this knife, he had already lowered his hand, then tilted his head to look at Xie Chuan and said, "As you wish, this is my strongest combat skill, Shocking Branch." Xie Chuan was in no mood to talk to Han Fei at this moment. It was too strong. This knife light came in a flash. It seemed very fast, but it also seemed very slow. He didn't know how to dodge it. It seemed that he couldn't dodge it at all. Flame Spirit Slash. Xie Chuan knew in his heart that this was no longer the time to compete with combat skills. The appearance of this knife was simply a competition of strength, no fancy tricks at all. Clang. Kacha. The two knives in Xie Chuan's hands suddenly broke, and the spiritual energy on the knives was directly split apart. His spiritual energy protective cover was shattered, and his battle suit was torn apart. At that second, the only thought left in Xie Chuan's mind was that he was doomed. Am I going to die in the next second? Xie Chuan's soul was trembling. He couldn't block it at all. But The face of the hanging fisher referee in charge of Han Fei's battle changed drastically. He didn't expect Han Fei to be so terrifying. At this moment, he had already flown out, but it was too late for him to make a move. Swish. While countless people held their breath, the knife light suddenly disappeared and then appeared behind Xie, as if it had just flashed in front of Xie. The hanging fisher's face changed drastically. He secretly let out a sigh of relief and punched out, preparing to smash this knife light. Bam! The knife light exploded, and the hanging fisher's body trembled slightly. He glanced at his fist, only to see that there was a bloody wound. The corner of the hanging fisher's mouth twitched. What the fuck is this monster? A casual slash made with a branch could injure a hanging fisher? Xie opened his eyes in a daze and touched his face. I'm not dead? Many students from the Dragon Long Academy stood up, their faces full of horror. At that moment, they felt that Xie was going to die. The knife light almost touched Xie face, but in the blink of an eye, it appeared behind Xie. What was going on? In the president's seats, many people looked at Old Bai in astonishment. In the mayor's seats, a group of people looked at Kong Xian, the mayor of the Blue Sea Town. In the end, the mayor of the Wind Thunder Town took a deep breath. It's not knife intent, but stronger than knife intent. It's a bit like the art of invincibility? The mayors were all hidden fishers, so they had good eyes. But they hadn't actually seen the art of invincibility, so they could only guess. From what they knew, Han Fei's current state seemed to be a bit similar to the state recorded in the rumored art of invincibility. Everyone looked at Old Bai in shock. Is this the Thug Academy? He hasn't shown up for 30 years, but as soon as he showed up, he used the art of invincibility. Han Fei looked at the referee. Can I go down now? The referee's face changed immediately. Yes, Han Fei from the Thug Academy of the Blue Sea Town wins. When Han Fei walked from the arena to the audience, countless eyes fell on him. The ordinary audience was horrified, thinking that this shameless guy was too strong. The students from the major towns looked complicated, and Ming Kuan and the others from the Wind Thunder towns smiled bitterly. He was so strong. When he passed by the cloud-soaring town, even the teachers and students looked at Han Fei in astonishment. When he passed by the fiery dragon town, no one showed anger or hatred in their eyes anymore. Do you still want to hate me? Ask yourself if you can block Han Fei's branch first. The three academies of the Blue Sea Town were all silent. They had seen Han Fei's unreasonable combat skills. If they had to describe it in one word, it would be horrifying. He Xiaoyu sighed, full of melancholy. He's so powerful. What should I do? The game continued. Groups of people were being replaced one after another. After a full hour, it was Luo Xiaobai's turn again from the Thug Academy. Luo Xiaobai from the Thug Academy of the Blue Sea Town versus Hong Shufeng from the Heavenly Essence Academy of the Yuan Engraving Town. This time, when the name of the Thug Academy was announced, the cheers in the arena were much lower. On the arena, Hong Shufeng was an armorist. When he drew Luo Xiaobai, he was quite confident. Also, what he practiced was the wild sword array, which was a natural restraint on manipulators. Hong Shufeng said, even if you are a student of the Thug Academy, so what? Fuse with the scavenger, attach with the axe crab, attach with the 1,000-blade tortoise. Hong Shufeng grinned. My box is full of swords, my body is full of knives, and I have the powerful defense power of the scavenger. What can you do? However, Luo Xiaobai didn't move at all, and the ground suddenly exploded, and thick and slender vines emerged. Red, green, blue. In the blink of an eye, dozens of plants broke out of the ground. Hong Shufeng roared, wild sword array, 1,000-blade slash, axe technique, I'll break you. Luo Xiaobai's battlefield was so gorgeous that it had become an ocean of spiritual plants. In the ocean, knives and swords were flying and killing crazily, attracting the attention of the audience immediately. But just as Hong Shufeng was crazily chopping, outside the vine forest, countless thin vines began to interweave. 1, 2, 100, 1,000. A total of 1,000 vines weaved together to form an incomparably huge supervine. It was 5 to 6 meters thick and 34 meters tall. The audience was dumbfounded when they saw this. Bam! The vine was like a whip, lashing into the vine jungle with an unstoppable force. Along the way, none of the swords and sabers could cut through the vine. Hong Shufeng was slapped to the ground by the whip, and even his armor box was slapped into the ground. Immediately afterward, the ground shattered, and countless vines wrapped Hong Shufeng out of the ground like a big ball, leaving only his head outside. At this moment, there was still saliva at the corner of Hong Shufeng's mouth, and he was delirious. All the knives and swords were scattered on the ground. The referee swallowed. Luo Xiaobai of the Thug Academy from Blue Sea Town wins. At the moment the referee announced the result, the vines drilled into the ground and disappeared without a trace. From beginning to end, Luo Xiaobai's face was expressionless, and she didn't even blink. As Luo Xiaobai walked back to her seat with a cold expression, the audience was silent. The first update? Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 586. After a whole day, 800 matches were played in the Wind Thunder Arena. All kinds of combat skills, abilities, spiritual beasts, and contractual spiritual beasts were dazzling. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan watched attentively. The other students in the Baihai town, as well as countless students from other academies, were watching attentively and cheered from time to time. The 5 of them could still watch it attentively in the first 3 hours, but then they became numb. At the beginning, they soon found something in common in the eyes of the dazzling players. Not only Han Fei, but the best heavenly talents of the major towns also found it. That was, although these people fought in a fancy way, their combat awareness, combat routines, combat styles, and so on, all became a few recurring types in the end. As the saying went, the essence of a fight was the same. In the end, no matter how fancy they were, they would end up in an endless cycle where whoever had the bigger fist was the strongest. Lu Renkuang had already started eating. No one knew when Zhang Xuanyu had run over to the group of girls from the first academy. Luo Xiaobai looked at the field calmly, but sometimes her eyes were unfocused as if she were in a daze. Obviously, she was absent-minded. Xia Xiaochan and Han Fei were playing crocodiles together. At this moment, 2 people and 1 crocodile were talking to each other via voice transmission. Han Fei asked Old Ghost, "Why did you capture the Wind Thunder Town in the first place?" Xia Xiaochan asked, "Is there really a legendary creature in the level 3 fishery? I've never seen one." The ghost-eyed giant crocodile, who had turned into a small lizard, also occupied a chair and snorted. "I didn't enter the level 3 fishery. I just chased a turtle here. I'm still hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from the level 3 fishery. I don't know how I was discovered." Xia Xiaochan asked, "Huh? What's beyond the level 3 fishery?" The ghost-eyed giant crocodile said, "It's the sea that you humans haven't explored." Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan looked at each other, and Han Fei asked, "Do you know the unknown place?" The ghost-eyed giant crocodile's eyes glowed with blue light. "All the unknown sea is the unknown place. Not to mention you humans, even we, the sea creatures, need to explore it." Han Fei was lost for words. "Didn't you say that you were chasing a turtle? Where did you come from?" The ghost-eyed giant crocodile, "How would I know? The sea is so big. I swam and here I am." "Have you ever seen a manfish? The humanoid ones with harpoons in their hands." The ghost-eyed giant crocodile looked at Han Fei. "Are you talking about the little sea demon? I've seen him before. However, the little sea demons are too brutal. There are also big sea demons behind them. Usually, they appear in the disordered sea region." Han Fei couldn't help but ask, "What is the chaotic sea?" The ghost-eyed giant crocodile said smugly, "Since you saved my life, I'll tell you. The so-called chaotic sea region was a sea region where all kinds of creatures could exist. Most of these creatures were cruel and vicious. They hunted and preyed on each other. Not to mention you humans, do you think sea demons and marine creatures won't fight for resources? They would snatch it all the same. It's just that the chaotic region will snatch it even more fiercely." Xia Xiaochan's eyes lit up. "Since there are so many resources in the chaotic sea region, why aren't there more powerful marine creatures to fight for them? Wouldn't it be easy for them to wipe out the chaotic sea region? The ghost-eyed giant crocodile said disdainfully, "It's easy for you to say. For example, you are called dangling fishers, right? Will dangling fishers fight for resources with shockingly low spiritual energy and energy? The powerful marine creatures don't care about it. Of course, there may be another reason, that is, other powerful creatures are also coveting them." Han Fei didn't care about powerful creatures. In fact, he was more interested in the world outside the fishery. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, "Then tell me about the world outside the fishery." The ghost-eyed giant crocodile said, "I haven't been to your fishery. I just heard it from the guys who guarded me. If I had known that you humans were active in this area, I wouldn't have chased you in." Han Fei blinked and said, "Then have you seen humans before?" The ghost-eyed giant crocodile grunted. "Outside your level 3 fishery, in the vaster ocean, there are occasionally large human ships passing by, but those people are very powerful. Wherever the ships pass, creatures will retreat." Wow! Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan looked at each other. There were still humans outside the fishery? Just when Han Fei was about to ask for more details, Wenren said, "That's all it knows. Most of its understanding of human beings is from human society. As for outside the fishery, to put it bluntly, it is an unexplored place, where there will be endless opportunities and secret realms. Every year, there are many strong masters going out of these fisheries. But it's not like what this crocodile said, creatures will retreat. If humans appear outside the fishery, they will be besieged by a large number of creatures, right, little crocodile?" The ghost-eyed giant crocodile blinked. "Yes, but low-level creatures like us will retreat. We are not fools. Why would we crash into a human ship?" Han Fei was speechless. Han Fei was lost for words. "Liar, you talk as if there's no danger at all." The ghost-eyed giant crocodile said, "There is definitely danger, but we marine creatures all have a way to survive and are very good at avoiding danger." Wenren said, "Don't ask. You'll naturally know when it's time for you to know. Do you really think there is anything outside the level 3 fishery? There are only endless marine fierce beasts. Legendary creatures are legendary in human society, but outside the fishery, in the vast endless sea, they are actually nothing." Han Fei didn't know what Old Bai said to this ghost-eyed giant crocodile. Anyway, this little crocodile was very talkative, and even when Han Fei didn't talk to it, it would still talk to Han Fei. In the evening it was getting late. Everyone couldn't stand it anymore, so the mayors finally ordered the game to be suspended and continued tomorrow. Han Fei and the others walked out while discussing what hot pot to eat. Then they saw some teenagers from the cloud-soaring town greet them with a smile. Wenren was surprised. "Did you make friends here?" Han Fei said, "Not really. We just live close to them. They are just downstairs from us." In the evening, after eating hot pot, Han Fei and the other 4 hung on the branches of the central tree, and Han Fei was studying the spirit-gathering scripture with his eyes closed. "Senior brother Han Fei, senior brother Han Fei." Suddenly, someone shouted in a low voice. Han Fei opened his eyes and looked down, only to see 2 boys he didn't know looking at him with a smile. Han Fei wondered, "Who are you?" "Senior brother Han Fei, I am Zhang Fan from the cloud-soaring town." "Senior brother Han Fei, my name is Su Fu." Han Fei asked, "What can I do for you?" Zhang Fan, who was a little chubby, said, "Senior brother Han Fei, can I ask you some questions about saber techniques?" Han Fei thought for a while. It would be a little unreasonable if he didn't say a few words. So Han Fei turned over and jumped down. Han Fei asked, "What's the problem?" Zhang Fan and Su Fu were pleasantly surprised to see that Han Fei really came down. Zhang Fan said happily, "Senior brother, wait a minute. Why am I your senior brother? You look older than me." Zhang Fan was taken aback. Junior brother?" Han Fei's face suddenly darkened. "Then you'd better call me senior brother." Zhang Fan didn't mind at all. He quickly said, "Senior brother, both of us use sabers. However, when we practice, we always feel that the saber light is too weak. Furthermore, it's hard to control it. Not to mention, when the saber light sweeps out, it's majestic. Is there any trick to it?" Han Fei rolled his eyes. You want to ask about the shortcut? There is no shortcut. You have to comprehend it. Research. Su Fu hesitated. Senior brother, I can't figure it out. Han Fei said, try cutting me. Zhang Fan and Su Fu were both stunned. That's not good, is it? Han Fei said, it's not a big deal. Do you want to learn from me? Otherwise, I'm going up. Mid-quality spiritual energy appeared in Zhang Fan's hand, and as he waved his knife light, he was shocked to find that Han Fei hit it with his palm. He immediately exclaimed. Han Fei easily crushed the knife light. It's indeed not sharp enough. Is your spiritual power a little weak? Ah. Zhang Fan was taken aback. What do you mean? Han Fei explained, whether you use a knife or a sword, even if you can't comprehend the unity of man and knife, at least at the moment of your attack, your spirit will be focused, your soul will be stable, and your goal will be clear. You are not determined enough, and your spirit is not full, so of course you can't cut out a powerful knife light. Zhang Fan froze for a moment and then looked overjoyed. Thank you for your lesson, senior brother. With that, Han Fei looked at Su Fu. What about you? Try cutting me too. Su Fu also slashed, and Han Fei also took it with his hand. This time Han Fei reacted faster. You are sharp enough, but the spiritual energy is too impure. Is there something wrong with your cultivation method? You know, the more spiritual energy, the better, but the purer, the better. Otherwise, where do you think the difference between cultivation methods comes from? Su Fu was stunned. Is it that simple? Han Fei scoffed. How difficult do you think it is? Why don't you ask your teacher these simple questions? Hearing Han Fei's question, the two of them sighed in unison. Han Fei? Second update. Please vote. End of this chapter. Chapter 587. Han Fei could see that the two of them were eager to learn. In fact, the only thing they lacked in this problem was the guidance of teachers. Han Fei didn't believe that the cloud-soaring town didn't have any decent teachers at the school. Zhang Fan sighed slightly. Senior brother, my cloud-soaring town has been weak for a long time. Since the talent of the cloud-soaring town declined 100 years ago, it has always ranked last among the 36 towns. Because of this, all the people with some strength in our town have gone out. Some went to the level 3 fishery, and some went to the unknown place, but in the end, maybe it's because of the gap in strength. Too many people have died, and there are not enough students and teachers. Not only in the area of saber practice, but also in many combat skills. In fact, the level of teachers is not very high. Han Fei wondered, didn't you say that your cloud-soaring town has a new mayor? Don't you plan to cultivate talents? Su Fu smiled bitterly. You don't know this. Our mayor didn't come to this exchange competition. It is said that he is recovering from his injuries, which seem to have been recovering for more than 10 years. Zhang Fan hurriedly said, but our mayor is also a good man. When he took office, he brought a lot of resources to our cloud-soaring town, including hundreds of combat skills and cultivation methods. However, the mayor can't teach us in person. We need to cultivate on our own. Han Fei was speechless. Isn't there the president? The president doesn't teach you? Are the talent resources in your town so scarce? The president has tried his best to teach us, but because there are too many people, we can't ask the president every question, or the president won't be able to answer all of them. Zhang Fan shrugged. The weaker we are, the weaker we are. Our cloud-soaring town was actually not weak, but 100 years ago, for some reason, a large number of talents died, so we gradually declined. But during this period, there were some excellent talents, but they didn't have time to teach us. Han Fei asked, are there so few peak-level dangling fishers? Su Fu nodded. Pathetically few. Han Fei thought for a while. What quality of combat skills and cultivation methods do you cultivate? Some of them are spirit level, but most of them are demon level low quality and mid quality. There are few high quality ones, and even fewer heaven level ones. Han Fei frowned. Nobody from the other towns helped you? Zhang Fan said, the cloud-soaring town can rise. Our generation is determined to cultivate and return home to serve our country. This is also the reason why only 100 of us are going to the unknown land this time. The rest of us need to gradually improve the education in Soaring Cloud Town. Su Fu nodded. Yes, compared with 10 years ago, the strength of the cultivators in Cloud Soaring Town has improved a lot. We have been making progress all the time. I believe that in another 10 years, we will be able to compete for the second last place. Han Fei was speechless. Was there a big difference between the second last place and the first last place? Han Fei patted their shoulders. I sympathize with you, but I can't help you. The rise of a town was not something that could be achieved with the efforts or help of 1 or 2 people. But I can give you some advice. Zhang Fan and Su Fu. Han Fei blinked and said, to make money. What can't money buy? Earn money? Han Fei curled his lips. That's because you don't have the courage. Sometimes you just need to spend money to cultivate some of the most outstanding talents first. Anyway, I can't help you with this matter, so it's not up to you. Okay, I'm going to cultivate. With that, Han Fei jumped up the tree. Zhang Fan and Su Fu hurriedly thanked him. Thank you for your guidance, senior brother. Han Fei's perception of the Cloud Soaring Town was that the education policy and resource planning were wrong, but it had nothing to do with him. At first, Han Fei just remembered that Lin Miao Miao was from the Cloud Soaring Town and the Fiery Dragon Town was too arrogant, so he helped her. But what happened between him and Lin Miao Miao was only between the two of them and had nothing to do with others. Now Lin Miao Miao was long dead. Han Fei thought he had avenged her. The only pity was that she died so early, which was a little regretful. Maybe he felt guilty, but as time went by, the guilt gradually faded. He didn't want to do something stupid like saving a town alone. He didn't have that ability. After Han Fei climbed up the tree, he saw Old Bai looking at him. Old Bai scoffed. You're not that good yourself, but you've learned to teach others? Han Fei was speechless. They came to ask for advice and called me senior brother. I can't refuse them, can I? Old Bai shook his head slightly. 3 fools. Do you really think the Cloud Soaring Town is not good enough? The Cloud Soaring Town used to rank in the top 3 of the 36 towns, even better than the Wind Thunder Town. Do you think they are all brainless? Huh. Han Fei was stunned. If they were so strong, how did they end up like this? Old Bai sneered. What else can they do? They offended someone. Han Fei was speechless. If they offend someone, they will be punished along with the whole town? Old Bai said leisurely, it's the same as the decline of the Thug Academy. They are much smarter than you. They are just waiting for an opportunity to make a breakthrough. You, Yun, mind your own business. You have a lot of skills, but you're not good at it. You'll know how big the problem is in the future. Han Fei laughed awkwardly and continued to climb up the tree trunk to study the spirit-gathering scripture, although he was surprised that the whole town was so miserable. However, Old Bai obviously knew better than him, and he didn't have the mood to meddle in other people's business. What troubled Han Fei now was that Old Bai said that he had learned a lot of things, which was a big problem. This was because after he developed this saber technique, a relatively big problem appeared in his data, and that was his upper limit of spiritual energy had broken through again. Logically speaking, breaking through was a good thing. It meant that there was still potential that had yet to be unearthed. But the problem was that his upper limit of spiritual energy broke through the barrier of 6,499 points. Although it only increased by 2 points, it meant that he couldn't break through to become a peak-level dangling fisher yet. But there was a problem. What was the upper limit of spiritual energy? Was it related to combat skills? Wasn't the upper limit of spiritual energy related to physique and the strength of meridians? However, just as he comprehended the invincible saber light, this stage was actually broken. It was broken in a baffling manner. Because of this, and because Old Bai kept saying that he had learned a lot of things, Han Fei felt that he might really have learned a lot of things that didn't meet the standard, which led to the current situation. But Han Fei was not in a hurry. Since he couldn't make a breakthrough, he would practice hard. He didn't mind spending half a year to stabilize himself and learn arrays. The next day, everything was normal. There were also about 800 games. Zhang Xuanyu appeared and won easily, and Xia Xiaochan and Lu Renkuang didn't have their turn. On the third day, Lu Renkuang appeared, and Xia Xiaochan didn't have her turn. The fourth day, the fifth day, the sixth day, on the seventh day, it was Xia Xiaochan's turn, and she won easily. This preliminary round had just ended, and a total of 5,200 people had won. There was no team battle, no second chance. At this moment, in the arena, the mayor of the Wind Thunder Town was speaking. All the students who have advanced, you have come up through layers of selection. You are the talents of the 36 towns, the young experts who have walked out of hundreds of millions of people. I am proud of you. Clap, clap, clap. Off the field, there was a round of applause, and everyone listened attentively. The mayor of the Wind Thunder Town said, "We have passed the first round of the competition. The rest of you, gather in the arena tomorrow morning. At that time, the defeated students, the spectators, and the audience are not allowed to enter again. The Wind Thunder Arena will be closed to the public from now on." Many locals of the Wind Thunder Town knew that this was the case every time. After the first round, the second round would not be open to the public. But those students were all confused. Why don't we watch the battle? Well, will there be no more chances after one defeat? Why don't we watch the next round? The locals had no objection, the students were confused, and the teachers were solemn and even sighed. Han Fei wondered. Sir, why do I feel that something is wrong? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Yes, it doesn't make sense. Isn't it an exchange competition? Why aren't we allowed to continue watching? Wen Renyu shook her head slightly. It's an exchange competition and a selection competition. When the first battle begins, the selection has already begun. The author said, "I'm going back to my hometown today. I won't say much. Keep updating." End of this chapter. Chapter 588. That night, Xiao Zhan took Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan back to the Blue Sea Town, along with the ghost-eye giant crocodile and the 1 million pieces of jewelry that Han Fei bought. It was the same for the other major towns. Those who came to observe and learn but failed in the preliminary round all went home. These students didn't know what was going on and were still asking. Luo Xiaobai asked, "Teacher, what does the so-called preliminary round mean? Why are those who failed in the preliminary round not allowed to watch it?" "I don't know why, but I just feel that something is wrong." Han Fei frowned. "More than wrong. Half of the people have gone home. Are they really here to watch the preliminary round?" Lu Renkuang asked, "Will it be bloody later?" Zhang Xuanyu smiled. "That's impossible. They're all seedlings going to the unknown lands, so how could it be bloody?" Wen Renyu thought for a moment, rubbed her head, and said, "Because the next round will be very difficult. Besides, there will be nothing to appreciate." Everyone was stunned. Very difficult? Nothing to appreciate? Is it going to be a secret realm? Old Bai said, "Stop guessing. What do you think we, the presidents and mayors, have held a meeting for a whole day? You'll know tomorrow." Han Fei grinned. "Mr. President, please tell us." Old Bai stroked his beard and said mysteriously, "There's no need to tell us. Because I know what will happen next, and I don't need to tell you. I don't have to tell you what I don't know." Han Fei was stunned. "But you don't know either, Mr. President?" Old Bai twitched his mouth. "To be precise, only the mayors of the 36 towns know. However, the 36 of them are having a party together tonight. They are actually spying on each other. Who do you think will tell you?" "Everyone," Han Fei murmured. "I have a bad feeling." Lu Renkuang nodded. "Not you, but we all have." The next day, the Wind Thunder Arena was empty. The giant arena that could hold 200,000 people now had less than 6,000 people, including the teachers, students, presidents, and mayors. How could it not be empty? At this moment, there was no distinction between which academy they were from and which town they belonged to. There were 158 people in the Blue Sea Town in total, which meant that 142 people had been defeated and returned home. At this moment, at the entrance of the arena, Lu Renkuang and Lin Xingmu were staring at each other. Lin Xingmu said leisurely, Brother Lu, you and I are now allies. Why do you still hold grudges from the past? Lu Renquang said fiercely, if I fight you again, I can beat you into a fish head. Lin Xingmu smiled and said, I know, so I won't fight you anymore. Li Honi still hated Han Fei. If Han Fei was here, he would run to the other side. Anyway, he wouldn't meet Han Fei face to face. Xiang Zuozhua already knew that she couldn't beat Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu, so she didn't take them as her targets. As a result, it moved closer to them. Xiang Zuozhua asked, Han Fei, tell me, what's inside your knife? I've thought about it over and over again, but nothing seems right. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Sister, is this the time to ask questions? Do you know that this is a very difficult match? Do you know what this competition is about? Han Fei shrugged. I don't know. At this moment, Wenren Yu shouted, let's go, it's time to enter the arena. Everyone, get ready. Countless students poured in, and their hearts were in turmoil. Judging from yesterday's situation, today's competition would not be simple. After a moment, when everyone entered the arena, they were all frozen. Everyone looked at each other with a dumbfounded look on their faces. Han Fei and the others were also dumbfounded. What does this mean? In the huge arena, there were more than 5,000 tables and chairs, filling up the entire arena. On each table, there was a fish skin and a pen. Han Fei rubbed his eyes. We guessed right, this was a fucking test? Luo Xiaobai asked. What is this? Xia Xiaochan asked, are you writing something? Zhang Xuanyu said leisurely, it must be writing cultivation insights. This thing is simple. With my self-created 9-layered waves in Furious Sea, this is not difficult at all. Lu Renquang nodded. Really? Then I should be able to do it too. I think I can create a school of gluttony. Han Fei couldn't help but roll his eyes at these two. How could it be so simple? Insights and whatnot were all theoretical things. The test couldn't be all about theories. At this moment, the mayors of the 36 towns were sitting high up. The presidents were scattered in the audience seats, and there were hundreds of hanging fishers on the field, wandering around. The mayor of the Wind Thunder Town said, all students, please take your seats according to your number. A hanging fisher shouted, students from the Sky Marshal Town, come to me. Students from the Wind Thunder Town, come to me. Students from the Million Gold Town, come to me. Soon, someone called the mayor of the Blue Sea Town. Han Fei and the others could only bite the bullet and go to their seats. When they got closer, they found that the fish skins on the table were all upside down, as if they didn't want people to see the contents in advance. Sit down and don't move. Wait for the mayor's order. No turning over the fish skins. You are not allowed to whisper or send voice transmissions to each other. Han Fei was speechless. Isn't this the same as an exam? Why do I still need to take an exam in this world? The mayor of the Wind Thunder Town said, today, we will not compete in strength or fishing. Let's take an exam. But everyone must remember that this exam is very strict. Once someone is found to be whispering to each other, or spiritual probing, their exam results will be immediately invalidated and they will have to go home. They will enjoy the same treatment as those students who failed. Everyone couldn't help but take a breath. That's fucking scary. It's just an exam. Is it necessary to be so strict? The mayor of the Wind Thunder Town said lightly, let me be frank. In this exam, no one is allowed to practice favoritism. But if you are found, you will be disqualified. Students, this exam is related to your future. You must take it seriously. Don't be careless. Suddenly, a voice sounded in Han Fei's mind. It was from Old Bai. Remember, no matter what, no cheating, no perception, no voice transmission. Han Fei looked up at the reaction of the others. They all seemed to have received the voice transmission. Maybe this was more convincing. Therefore, all the students were unprecedentedly steady at this moment. The mayor of the Wind Thunder Town said, the exam will start in 100 minutes. It will last for 3 hours. At that time, you are not allowed to write or whisper to each other. If anyone violates the rules at the last moment, They will also be disqualified and their results will be invalidated on the spot. Han Fei couldn't help taking a deep breath. Fuck, this exam won't be easy. With a hidden fisher and a hanging fisher supervising, a group of dangling fisher students wouldn't even dare to say a word. 100 minutes later, the mayor of the Wind Thunder Town announced, "I announce the start of the exam. Please write down on the back of the test paper where you are from, your college, your name, your profession, your spiritual beast, contractual spiritual beast, and your level. You must write down your multiple professions. Now you can start to answer the questions." Han Fei immediately picked up the pen. From Thug Academy, Blue Sea Town. Name, Han Fei. Spiritual beast, spirit-swallowing fish. Profession, soul warrior, spirit gatherer. Contractual spiritual beast, exotic mantis shrimp. As for Little Gold, he thought for a while and decided not to write it down. Who knew which category Little Gold belonged to? Little Fatty. Han Fei didn't want to write it down either. Can't I have some trump cards up my sleeves when I write it? Although Little Fatty had been exposed, if he didn't say it, who would know what characteristics it had? After writing, Han Fei opened the big fish skin test paper that covered the entire table. At a glance, there were 108 questions in total. Wow, there are a lot of questions. Han Fei immediately looked at the first question of the test paper, and then his eyes widened. Immediately, Han Fei gasped hard. Not only Han Fei, but 80% of the people present also gasped. Han Fei was speechless. Are these fucking questions for humans? The first question was as follows. Fishing in the level 1 fishery, the fishing hook is 12 meters into the water, and a spirit-swallowing fish is caught. A junior dangling fisher uses 3 points of spiritual energy, and the spirit-swallowing fish struggles with 198 kilograms of strength. How many scales does this spirit-swallowing fish have? Han Fei's blood froze. How the fuck would I know? How could there be such a crazy question in this world? Who the hell came up with these questions? Come out. I'll never beat you to death. Why don't you make a multiple-choice question? Why don't you make a fill-in-the-blank question? Fuck. Han Fei scratched his head, skipped it, and looked at the second question. You enter a secret realm and find a beautiful girl/handsome young man who is sealed. All it takes is a deep kiss from you to wake her/him up. However, as soon as you wake up, you are stabbed to death by the other party. Fuck. Han Fei scratched his head again. He subconsciously turned his head and looked at Zhang Xuanyu not far away. He found that the outstanding hottie who said the questions were easy was also pulling his hair at this moment. The spiritual energy in his body was unstable and he was about to lose control. The first update? Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 589. The spiritual energy in the Wind Thunder Arena was about to explode, mainly because these students were about to lose control of themselves because of these questions. Han Fei immediately closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then he looked ahead, and immediately a hanging fisher stared at him. Han Fei thought to himself, I can't perceive or transmit my voice. Why are you looking at me? In Han Fei's sight, Lu Renquang was clutching his belly with a dumbfounded look. On the other hand, Xia Xiaochan and Luo Xiaobai were actually writing. Xia Xiaochan thought for a while and then moved her pen. Luo Xiaobai was even more perverted. She didn't stop writing and just kept writing. It seemed that these questions were not difficult for her at all. Han Fei immediately took a breath. I'm a heavenly talent. How can I be a bad student? Look at the third question. Third question. You are fishing on the sea and meet a young man/girl on the way. You regret not meeting her earlier, but you just met by chance. It's late now, and the other party suddenly asks for a drink. What does the other party want to drink? Han Fei tried to take another breath. Obviously, this kind of question was not made by a good person. Maybe it was a psycho. Drink? What could he drink? Drink water. However, according to the crazy method of setting the questions, drinking water was definitely wrong. What was in the sea? Spiritual fruit? Tree sap? Han Fei immediately vetoed it. Why the fuck would I regret not meeting a little girl on the sea earlier? What's her purpose? Han Fei was immediately sure that this little girl must have ulterior motives. She either wanted to rob or kill him for his goods. After thinking for a moment, Han Fei wrote on the answer, "Drink blood." Han Fei searched his body. This was the only thing he could drink. Maybe the girl had some weird hobbies? Fourth question. You found a treasure secret realm and found that there were 2 divine weapons on the left and right sides of the secret realm. One divine weapon had an amazing momentum, emitting billowing murderous intent. This divine weapon was sparkling and translucent, exuding an extraordinary charm. But you can only choose one. Which one would you choose? Han Fei grinned. This was easy. Han Fei wrote, "Only fools make choices. Adults want both." Immediately afterward, the questions became more and more strange. One question asked, if you meet a small fish tied in the ocean. Behind you, 100 people are fishing, completely unaware of this. Right now, you have a secret realm to hide in. Would you choose to hide in the secret realm or swim back to warn everyone to escape? Be careful, if you go back, you might not be able to escape the small fish tide. Speechless, Han Fei immediately replied, "Why should I escape? Is a small fish tide that rare? I will definitely carve out a path for myself." All of a sudden, a clanging sound was heard, and a youth was picked up. The hanging fisher directly threw him out of the field and sneered. Triumph Town, Su Shu, used a secret eye technique. He is disqualified from the exam and his results are invalid. Su Shu shouted, "Wait, I haven't seen it yet. I can still take the test. Give me another chance." All eyes fell on Su Shu. The latter had already been dragged out of the arena. At this moment, everyone was still looking away from him. Suddenly, another person was mentioned. A hanging fisher carried a girl and said, "Red Moon Town, Ning Kai, peeped at you in the chaos. He is disqualified from the exam and his results are invalid." The girl, Ning Kai, exclaimed, "I just did it subconsciously. I didn't see anything." President? The girl was also thrown out and dragged out of the field. Han Fei couldn't help but be shocked. Do they have to be so strict? How could she see a flower with just a glance? The audience was horrified. They all lowered their heads and took the exam in silence. 1 hour later, Han Fei found that not all the questions were unanswerable. He really didn't know how to answer some of them, but he could answer some of them easily. Especially one of all the questions. If you encounter a pirate ship at sea, the other party outnumbers you, but as long as you hand over your sea-swallowing seashell, they won't kill you. What would you do? Han Fei immediately sneered and wrote, "I won't hand over my sea-swallowing seashell. But for the sake that they don't intend to kill me, I will rob them and then spare their lives." As he answered the questions, Han Fei found that he didn't know how to answer half of them. But it didn't matter. There were 3 short answer questions at the end. However, when Han Fei saw the questions, he was stunned again. The first question, you sneezed again, and you sneezed again. But Han Fei was speechless. I'm a fucking dangling fisher. Why would I sneeze? So Han Fei wrote, "Dangling fishers don't sneeze, or someone misses me." The second question, if you manage a team of 100 people, you can trust all of them. What's the first thing you do with them? But this time, Han Fei grinned. Of course it's robbing. In a place like the ocean, the fastest way to become stronger is to rob. Han Fei listed a bunch of reasons and expressed his satisfaction. The third question, there are 2 completely enclosed secret realms, one with 3 pill furnaces, and the other with mechanisms to control these 3 pill furnaces. Now, you enter these 2 secret realms once and then judge which mechanism controls these 3 pill furnaces. When he saw this question, Han Fei was immediately amused. It was a free-point question. Wonderful. It only took Han Fei 5 minutes to write the answer. Then he looked back at the questions that he didn't know how to answer. However, he couldn't even understand the questions. How could he answer them? When Han Fei raised his head again, he found that Lu Renquang had fallen asleep. Zhang Xuanyu held his chin with one hand and held a pen in his mouth, lost in thought. Xia Xiaochan was swinging her legs, relaxed and relaxed. If there was no one around, she would probably hum a song. Luo Xiaobai had already put down the pen, closed her eyes, and drifted off. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. They are all amazing. Han Fei still thought that he had to answer as many questions as he could in an exam. Whether it was right or not, he had to fill up the test paper first. Although he was an explorer on the sea in his previous life, he had participated in many examinations. So, he wrote, guess, on the first question and wrote, because the girl is a neat freak on the second question. After Han Fei finished writing, only half an hour had passed. The mayor of the Wind Thunder Town suddenly said, "Time's up. Collect the test papers." After collecting the test papers, everyone can get up and leave. At this moment, someone panicked. Suddenly, many teenagers in the field were picked up by many hanging fishers. Ning Lanjun, Gao Wu, sent a voice transmission. Disqualified from the exam and invalid results. Fiery Dragon Town, Wu Gang, sent a voice transmission. Disqualified from the exam and invalid results. Sea Source Town, Divine Billow Town. In an instant, 13 people were caught. Han Fei was speechless. What a bunch of fucking muggles. The hidden fishers were sitting on the top. Send a voice transmission? After a while, the test papers were collected. Immediately, countless wails rang out in the entire arena. What the hell are those questions? Except for the multiple-choice questions, I can't answer anything else. Oh no, I'm a disgrace to the town. I can't answer them at all. It's too difficult. Who the hell made the questions? This is too disgusting. Is this a question that a human can answer correctly? I feel that I'm hopeless. I'm going to be eliminated. I can't understand the questions at all, right? Someone cried sadly, I just want to know, why do I need to know how many scales a spirit-swallowing fish has? Zhang Xuanyu asked, Fei Fei, have you answered the questions? They are all traps. I can't answer these questions. Han Fei was stunned. Haven't you already answered them? Zhang Xuanyu scoffed. Of course not. I can't answer them at all. How can I answer them? Han Fei was taken aback. Then what did you do just now? You laughed just now. Zhang Xuanyu froze for a moment. Did I? Han Fei nodded. You did. Lu Renquang opened his eyes in a daze. What? Have you finished the exam? Can you answer them? Han Fei asked, haven't you finished? Lu Renquang scratched his belly. When I saw those questions, I felt dizzy and fell asleep. Han Fei didn't want to talk to him and quickly asked Xia Xiaochan and Luo Xiaobai, how about it? Did you answer them? Xia Xiaochan nodded. But there seemed to be a lot of answers to these questions. I don't know which one is right. Han Fei couldn't help but say, I want to know the second question. Why do you want to be stabbed to death after kissing someone in a secret realm? Xia Xiaochan said boldly, of course you want to be stabbed to death. She is not in love with you. Why did you kiss her? I will stab her too. Han Fei covered his head. Forget it. Pretend I didn't ask. However, Luo Xiaobai replied solemnly, there are several possibilities. This is a trap. That person is actually not sleeping at all. She is just waiting for someone to come and will stab them when they are least alert. The second is that the person is deliberately sleeping. However, her plan is ruined. The third is that the person is already very old because she is asleep. She can't accept this fact and the age difference, so she stabs the person to death. For this, Han Fei and the others were dumbfounded. Luo Xiaobai gave a total of 9 answers. Was this something a human being would do? Dumb. Before Han Fei and the others finished talking, there was a loud noise in the field. Someone hit the table with his head and broke it. Someone hit his chest with a sledgehammer, as if venting the anger in his heart. Someone stomped on the ground with his feet, as if he were dancing. For a time, the examination room became a large scene of self-mutilation. The scene was very spectacular and bloody. Second update. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 590. When they walked out of the examination room, more than 5,000 people looked gloomy as if they had lost their parents. At this moment, Lu Renquang was chasing Luo Xiaobai, asking her what the answer to the first question was. Han Fei pricked up his ears and listened. Luo Xiaobai said, I remember when I was a fisherman, the first lesson I took was about spirit-swallowing fish. Spirit-swallowing fish live between 10 to 30 meters above the sea surface. The deeper the water, the smaller the fish. On the contrary, the fish at the top are larger. The largest spirit-swallowing fish is no more than half a meter long and the water depth is 12 meters. But this is not the key to the judgment. A junior dangling fisher's use of 3 points of spiritual energy is equivalent to a junior fishing master's use of 80 to 100 points of spiritual energy. The fishing force is about 200 kilograms, which means that this fish is more than 1.5 feet long, which means that this is a large mutant spirit-swallowing fish with a body length of up to 1 meter. The scales of the spirit-swallowing fish are uniform and almost uniform in size. It can be estimated that there are about 25 to 30 scales in a circle. So, excluding the fish head and tail, it's about 1.5 feet long, so the number of scales is between 1,250 and 1,500. Taking the middle value, I wrote 1,375. Everyone? Han Fei's eyes widened. Are you a devil? How can you calculate this? Xia Xiaochan was surprised. So many? I wrote 500. Han Fei squinted at her. How did you calculate it? Xia Xiaochan said indifferently, I calculated according to your spiritual beast Xiaobai, which I have seen the most. Han Fei was speechless. So, you didn't use your brain at all, did you? Xia Xiaochan said indifferently, just answer it casually. Anyway, whether I can answer it or not, I have to go to the unknown place. So what if I answer it wrong? How could I not go? Lu Renquang immediately praised, that makes sense. That's what I was thinking just now. So, when I found that I couldn't understand the questions, I went to sleep. Luo Xiaobai shook her head and said solemnly, it shouldn't be so simple. This exam is obviously a kind of selection. Although the questions are strange, it seems to test our comprehensive thinking ability. Zhang Xuanyu looked dumbfounded. Why do you think it is a test for us? This is clearly making things difficult for us. Luo Xiaobai analyzed. Actually, according to my calculations, the first 10 questions are the most difficult. Moreover, he couldn't figure out the way at all. When I was doing the questions, I saw a lot of people collapse and give up. But the hidden fishers above were observing. Obviously, they are testing our temperament. Everyone? Luo Xiaobai continued, of the 108 questions, 50 are optional. These questions were all about a person's ability to judge and analyze in different environments, different situations, and when interacting with people. This should be the focus of this exam. Zhang Xuanyu immediately said, I've written this. I've written it in a good way and fully displayed my noble character. Luo Xiaobao rolled her eyes at Zhang Xuanyu. No, these questions shouldn't be asking us to do good deeds. The purpose of the exam was to select people, and the destination of the selection was to go to an unknown place. The unknown place was much more dangerous than the level 3 fishery. It was already extremely dangerous in the level 3 fishery, and countless people died every day. How could the unknown place be better? Han Fei immediately said, so, as long as you follow your heart, it's okay? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Han Fei was overjoyed. That's what I wrote. Xia Xiaochan's eyes lit up. Me too. Zhang Xuanyu's face suddenly sank. What else? Luo Xiaobai continued to analyze. There are 45 questions, all of which are directional questions. For example, the judgment of a crisis, the way to deal with a battle, the management and distribution of personnel, the use of terrain, the choice of weapons, the standard of the use of money, personal personality. These 45 questions are completely messy. There are many aspects involved, just like the captain assessment. Han Fei blinked. Personnel management? I said I'm going to rob with a team. Is this a good leader? There was no management. Wouldn't everything be fine as long as they listened to his commands? Xia Xiaochan looked envious. Xiaobai, you are really awesome. Zhang Xuanyu nodded repeatedly. If only I could send a voice transmission. Lu Renquang sighed. I don't want to answer the questions. However, Xia Xiaochan said, then Xiaobai, the third last question, why do you sneeze? With that said, Xia Xiaochan looked at Han Fei and said, someone said that if you sneeze, it must mean that someone is thinking of you, right? Luo Xiaobai asked, who said that? Han Fei immediately interrupted, well, let's go. Let's take a test. Why do we need to check the answers? Luo Xiaobai said, this question is actually very simple. If you sneeze, then there are only two situations. And the causes of these two situations are completely different. Han Fei couldn't help pricking up his ears. What's the situation? Luo Xiaobai explained, first of all, if you sneeze 3 times in a row, it means that someone in the water wants to hurt you. Han Fei couldn't help asking, why? Luo Xiaobai was like a high and mighty genius, explaining to a group of bad students, because dangling fishers don't sneeze. Once they sneeze, it means that you are poisoned. If you are not in the water, sneezing after you are poisoned is meaningless. You can be poisoned to death. Why do you sneeze? Only in the water, a sneeze will cause a lot of water or the breath in the body to dissipate. 3 sneezes in a row are enough to exhaust the air in the body. Although dangling fishers won't choke to death, they will expose too many weaknesses at this time, and it is easy to give someone a chance to kill you. So, if you sneeze 3 times in a row, it means that someone wants to hurt you, and it is in the water. Everyone, Han Fei couldn't help but look up at the sky. Damn, is this the world of the top students? Can you even analyze it like this? At this time, Old Bai ran away again. He must have gone to mark the papers. Wenren Yu coughed twice and wanted to say something, but she swallowed it back and just said, let's go. Let's go back. The result will be out tomorrow. Xia Xiaochan said, Ms. Wenren, why don't you just say it? I think you can't stand it anymore. Wenren Yu smiled contemptuously. There's nothing to say. Are either too smart or too stupid. Can't you be in the middle? Han Fei murmured, apart from the top students and the bad students, there are only the weak students. You're neither good nor bad. I can tell that you're hopeless at first glance. Wenren Yu, Lu Renquang seemed to have forgotten about the exam. Let's go back and have meatball hot pot, shall we? Han Fei couldn't help but ask, meatball hot pot? What's that? Lu Renquang chuckled. When I was dreaming just now, I dreamed that I bought dozens of different kinds of meatballs in the Tricor city and threw them into the hot pot. They tasted especially good. Zhang Xuanyu was lost for words. Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. You make it sound like you've eaten it. The next day, the examination room facilities of the Wind Thunder Arena finally disappeared. Many people heaved a long sigh of relief after seeing that the tables and chairs were gone. Yesterday, it was a hell-level exam. As a cultivator, fighting was the most comfortable. It was not suitable for them to do questions. Everybody was focused on the arena. The mayor of the Wind Thunder Town said, the results of yesterday's exam have been released. Most of the students did very well. The results have been sent to the colleges. You can ask your presidents. In an hour, we will have the 3rd exam. The audience gasped again. There's a fucking 3rd exam? Someone was puzzled. Did very well? Are you kidding me? Someone exclaimed, is it possible that someone can even solve those kinds of questions? For a moment, nobody cared about what the 3rd exam was going to be. They all surrounded their presidents. There was no need to surround the Thug Academy's side. There were only 7 people including Old Bai and Wenren Yu. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, President, how many points did I get? Did I pass? Old Bai was taken aback. Pass? What's that? Han Fei hurriedly said, it's a paper with 100 points. You can pass with 60 points. Old Bai looked at Han Fei as if he were a lunatic. What are you thinking? You want to pass? You want to get 60 points? Why don't you go to heaven? Han Fei, however, Old Bai suddenly changed the topic. If anyone must pass, Xiao Bai can be considered to have passed. His score seems to be more than 60 points. Everyone, Han Fei couldn't help but cover his head. A straight A student's score is only more than 60 points. Am I fucking hopeless? Third update? Asking for votes. I know about the brilliant list. That's why there are 10 updates on the first day. What I didn't expect was that I just said that if the monthly votes exceeded 2,000, I would add one more update. But the next day, I got double the monthly votes. I feel that I'll be useless in January. Forget it. Let's not take back what we said. The plan remains the same. I'll add more updates until I can't keep up with the writing. I'm a man with more than 300,000 updates a month. End of this chapter. Chapter 591. After a while, Han Fei and the others learned that there were no scores in this exam. Why were there no scores? Because most of the questions had no accurate answers at all. It was just that these presidents and mayors needed to see what kind of examinees were through the questions. For example, Luo Xiaobai could even answer such perverted questions. When they were marking the papers, it really caused a stir. Han Fei asked, "President, there are no scores? Then what did you see?" Old Bai glanced at Han Fei strangely. "Don't shout. Among the 5 people, you and Zhang Xuanyu have the worst conclusions." Zhang Xuanyu immediately said, "That's impossible. Quang Quang only answered 10 questions in total, and I answered 80 questions." Han Fei nodded quickly. "Yes, I answered all 108 questions. I don't believe I got 98 questions wrong." Old Bai took out a fish skin map and said, "Let me read it to you. The evaluation here is very objective and fair." Luo Xiaobai is extremely calm. She is extremely strict with herself and has a good grasp of details. She has a strong logical judgment and thinking ability. She is a natural leader. The only shortcoming is that she is very vengeful and will interfere with her judgment. Lu Renquang is upright and upright. Although he is quite lazy, he dares to take responsibility. This person is very stable and very suitable to be a law enforcer. Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu both cast a strange look at Lu Renquang. "Are you kidding me? This guy got such an evaluation after a night's sleep?" Lu Renquang muttered, "I don't want to be a law enforcer. I am also a person full of adventure." Old Bai rolled his eyes at him and continued, "Xia Xiaochan has a serious tendency to be violent and vengeful. But she is also compassionate, not good at communicating with others or getting along with others. Deep in her bones, she has a strong sense of justice. In addition, she has little common sense and is not very knowledgeable. She is a natural warrior." When Old Bai finished reading, he saw that Han Fei had already stopped Xia Xiaochan. "Don't be impulsive. Relax and put down the dagger." Xia Xiaochan was speechless. "By the way, this clearly means that I am stupid." Old Bai sighed. "You are not stupid, but you have too little experience. If you grow up in the village for a long time, you will naturally be able to make up for these shortcomings." Han Fei suddenly thought of something. Old Bai said, "If? Did it mean that Xia Xiaochan didn't grow up in the village? Where did Xia Xiaochan grow up?" Old Bai continued, "Zhang Xuanyu is cunning, eloquent, quick-witted, brave, and resourceful. However, this person is very selfish, completely indifferent to strangers, too selfish and vengeful. This kind of person can live for a long time." Zhang Xuanyu immediately said angrily, "It's fine at the beginning, but you're spouting nonsense at the end." "Am I selfish? I'm extremely selfless. I make friends with a lot of people, especially girls." Wenren Yu shouted, "Shut up. This is the final conclusion of 108 examiners. You are not allowed to refute it." Zhang Xuanyu thought to himself, "These 108 people are all stupid." Finally, Old Bai looked at Han Fei deeply. "What do you think of yourself?" Han Fei blinked. "Me, brave, skillful, and resourceful?" Old Bai sneered and continued to read, "Han Fei, this person is extremely greedy, insidious, cunning, vengeful, inexplicably optimistic, and crazy. At the same time, he seems to be a bit of a psychopath, but fortunately, he is quick-witted. This person is a typical crazy adventurer." Han Fei. Zhang Xuanyu patted Han Fei on the shoulder. "Well, fortunately, this evaluation is much worse than mine. At least I am not a psychopath," Han Fei said angrily. Who wrote this? President, as a teacher who marks the paper, can you show your sense of justice? I, Han Fei, am a psychopath? I am insidious and cunning? I am crazy? Old Bai closed the fish skin, then stroked his beard and said leisurely, well, the evaluation doesn't matter. But it turns out that you are quite excellent. At least you don't have to worry about being eliminated. Wenren Yu also said, in particular, among the 5 of you, 4 of you received the evaluation of vengeful. No wonder you are a team. Lu Renkuang asked, then should I also be vengeful? Old Bai scoffed. You can't. Your personality is not good enough. Han Fei looked at Luo Xiaobai. Since when did Xiaobai become vengeful? Luo Xiaobai replied, in theory, if cultivators fight with each other, if they don't retaliate immediately, the other party will become more aggressive. However, this will not affect my judgment. Old Bai smiled and nodded. This is a very good quality. Puff. Han Fei was speechless. You call this excellent? Old Bai sneered. What do you think? Whether they are greedy, evil, righteous, smart, perverted, or vengeful, they all have typical personal characteristics, indicating that these people must be very outstanding in some aspects. Although the evaluation is bad, do you think the word extreme comes for nothing? These evaluations themselves represent weight. Even Lu Renkuang, who has the most stable evaluation, has the word stable. Isn't it not easy? Old Bai paused. Besides, on the ocean, only when you are ruthless will no one dare to mess with you. Whoever messes with you, screw them to death, understand? This is the good quality of excellence. Everyone, in fact, Old Bai was right. Those who set up the fishing trial, the level 1 fishery, the level 2 fishery, and the level 3 fishery didn't care about the life and death of mortals. If they cared about life and death, why would they allow killing in the fishing trial? The road of cultivation was full of danger. Han Fei and the others had just finished reading. In some other towns, the presidents had begun to call the roll. Bao Boyu stepped out. Pei Hao stepped out. Buizhou. The whole arena was full of names. Soon, more than 1,000 people had come out of the roll call. About half an hour later, the roll stopped. The president of the Sky Marshal Town said, those whose names are called can stay in the Wind Thunder Town for the time being. However, you are not allowed to enter the Wind Thunder Arena today. Suddenly, someone's face changed drastically. President, why? Did we fail? President, the mayor just said that we did very well in the exam. President, I don't accept it. I think those evaluations are wrong. President, XX is much worse than me. Why can he stay here? Han Fei and the others looked at each other. Did they also eliminate people in this round? Old Bai said, in this assessment, only those who have no ability at all are picked out. It seems that the quality of this batch of students is very high. Not even 1,500 people have been eliminated. Han Fei was speechless. All the evaluations are fucking negative. How can you call this a high evaluation? Everyone, gather. Just after those who were eliminated left, the mayor of the Wind Thunder Town called for everyone to gather again. Everyone took their positions and saw a mysterious large array appear in the arena. When the large array was completely spread out, a huge portal appeared. The mayor of the Wind Thunder Town said, everyone listen up. The third round is in a secret realm. In the secret realm, there is a mountain. No matter what means you use, as long as you reach the top of that mountain, you will pass the test. But remember, no killing is allowed. Once someone dies, the killer will be eliminated on the spot and will be severely punished. Okay, there are only 3 hours left. Everyone, enter the secret realm immediately. Han Fei and the others were overjoyed. This was easy. They liked exploring secret realms the most. Luo Xiaobai said, it's unlikely to be a directional teleportation, so be prepared. As long as you don't kill people, you should be able to use all other means. Han Fei nodded. That's right. To put it bluntly, there are all kinds of people in this group, so we can't take it lightly. I just don't know if there are any treasures in this secret realm. Old Bai was speechless. How dare you say you are not greedy? You haven't even seen the secret realm yet, but you are already thinking about treasures. As it turned out, the test results were almost 100% consistent. As the large team of more than 4,000 people entered one after another, Han Fei and the others stepped into the teleportation array together. When the last person entered the secret realm, the mayor of the Wind Thunder Town said with a smile, "Everyone, let's go to the top of the mountain and wait." As soon as Han Fei stepped into the portal, his eyes suddenly lit up. The first thing he saw was a tall and majestic mountain, which was a bit similar to the secret realm of the Fiery Mountain. But the difference was that this place seemed to be smaller, and the mountain was completely different. If the mountain of the Fiery Mountain was the same as a normal mountain, then this mountain in Han Fei's field of vision was simply a bare cliff that was 90 degrees vertical to the ground. Han Fei even found that the curve of the cliff was a little different, which seemed to be more exaggerated than 90 degrees vertical. It was like a T-shape, and there seemed to be a parallel area at the top of the mountain. That was to say, when people climbed to the top, they could almost be parallel to the ground. The moment Han Fei saw this mountain, a strange conjecture suddenly appeared in his mind. This? Asking us to rock climb? Han Fei had thought that there were countless creatures here and there would be continuous battles. Who would have thought that it would be like this? However, Han Fei immediately frowned. Now they were in the water. Couldn't they swim up? No, if I want to climb the mountain, I have to get close to that mountain first. At that time, Han Fei immediately prepared to swim over. However, as soon as he raised his foot, he was immediately pressed down by a force. Han Fei? There is gravity here. Han Fei's first reaction was to think of the 10-fold gravity in the 7-star array that Ren Tianfei set up for him in the abyssal chasm. No wonder I felt something was wrong. It turns out that this sea area is covered by multiple times gravity. Han Fei felt that the gravity hadn't reached 10 times. But this feeling seemed to be less than 5 times. Han Fei immediately tried to swim up, but after swimming for about 20 meters against the gravity suddenly increased a little. After swimming to 50 meters, Han Fei felt that the gravity might have reached 8 times. Han Fei didn't intend to continue to test it. He landed directly and was ready to walk over. Compared with swimming against the gravity, it would save time and effort to walk over. First update. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 592. Han Fei once cultivated hard for 2 months under 10 times the gravity, which directly led to his extremely fast speed without gravity. Even if he returned to the gravity environment again, he could still give full play to his skills in battle. There were only 3 hours left, so Han Fei didn't dare to be careless at all. The mountain didn't look short at all. After running for less than 2,000 meters, Han Fei saw a person who was also running against gravity. However, when this person ran, he looked a little unnatural. Obviously, gravity affected his efficiency. This was still at the bottom of the sea, where the gravity was less than 5 times. If he swam out, this person would be even worse. That person obviously knew Han Fei. When he saw Han Fei, his first reaction was to run. Han Fei was speechless. "Wait, why did you run when you saw me?" That person was also taken aback. This time the assessment is just to climb a mountain, not to fight. Why did you run? Immediately, that person smiled awkwardly. "Sorry." Han Fei ran 2 steps and then trotted over. "Bro, you are a bit slow." That person, Han Fei asked, "Bro, do you know that there are no rules in the assessment?" That person? Han Fei said, "So, hand over your sea-swallowing seashells, okay?" That person? The person was stunned. "Han Fei, we are just here to take a test. What do you mean by robbing us?" Han Fei said leisurely, "Do you think the assessment is just to climb a mountain? Of course, it also tests your ability to adapt to changes. If this is not a test, are we just going to the top of the mountain to grab treasures? How can you pass if you don't even have a sense of vigilance? When you go out, you should be careful. Avoiding danger is a matter of course. So, hand it over." That person's face turned green. "Han Fei, don't talk nonsense. We are just taking a test." Han Fei punched out. Under such gravity, every muscle in his body could be used to fight. It was too easy to beat a person who hadn't adapted to the gravity environment. The person fell to the ground. Han Fei easily rummaged, fished out a sea-swallowing seashells, and then said with a smile, "Bro, come on, you can do it." With that, Han Fei ran away as fast as he could. That speed was as fast as a small electric motor. Little did they know. At the top of the mountain, there was a shadow hanging upside down in the air. Everything in the arena was under everyone's control. As soon as Han Fei took action, a group of mayors and presidents had seen it. Seeing this scene, the president of the Twin Dragons Academy in Long Dragon Town immediately glared at Old Bai, as if trying to humiliate him. However, Old Bai just stroked his beard lightly and said leisurely, "That evaluation was given by you." His current behavior was completely in line with the description of the evaluation. Moreover, that kid from your academy is indeed a little silly. Cough cough. None of the mayors said anything. Kong Xian, the mayor of the Blue Sea town, coughed and thought to himself, "Bai Kongyi, don't you know what's going on? We don't care what happens in the arena. But you're still provoking me outside the arena? What are you provoking me for?" Speaking of which, there were more than 4,000 people. In a mystic realm that was less than 100 miles in circumference, the chances of encountering each other were actually very high. None of them were ordinary people. Even if they were separated by tens of kilometers, it would be easy for them to notice each other. Han Fei didn't deliberately rob them. After all, these people didn't necessarily have anything good on them. If it was just on the way, the other party had already blocked his way, so it would be embarrassing if he didn't rob them. So before Han Fei reached the foot of the mountain, he had robbed 5 people along the way. After running for about 20 kilometers, the peak was right in front of him, but Han Fei found an abyss thousands of meters long in front of him. Above the abyss, there were hundreds of chains connected to the opposite side. The chains were only as thick as a wrist, incomparable to the huge chains on the floating island. The chains were not close to each other. They were separated by at least 1,000 meters before there was a chain. And on the chain in front of Han Fei, there were 2 people, one in front and one behind. However, the speed of the 2 people was extremely slow. The person in front was a manipulator who could control spiritual plants to buckle the chain. The one behind was just an armorist, carrying an armor box and swinging on the chain. Yes, swinging. The water flow here was a bit strange and seemed to be a bit rapid, which was probably one of the difficulties of the mystic realm. Han Fei looked around and found that almost every chain had people on it. People were gathering. More than 4,000 people were running to a finish line. How could people not gather? Han Fei didn't care about the robbery anymore. Just now, he glanced at the sea-swallowing seashells he had robbed, and the money in them was pitiful. The one with the most only had a few thousand mid-quality pearls, and the one with the least only had a few hundred mid-quality pearls. If he had known this, he might as well not have robbed them. None of them could make as much money as a casual business. Han Fei jumped directly on the chain and was ready to run wildly. 10 times the gravity? As soon as Han Fei landed on the chain, he already felt weird. This chain was very slippery, as if it had been smeared with oil. In addition, the abyss under his feet and the occasional water rushing up on the left and right sides made the chain extremely unstable and kept shaking. However, it was not a big problem, so Han Fei didn't panic at all. However, many people on the other chains cast him a surprised look. Can this guy still run? When Han Fei ran wildly on the chain, the armorist in front felt that there were 10,000 iron-head fish galloping in his heart. Who the fuck is this guy? I'm walking on a tightrope. How dare you run as soon as you jump up? The armorist was immediately unsteady. Knowing that he was in trouble, he immediately swam. But just after he swam a few meters, he saw that the height of his whole body kept dropping, and then he sank directly to the bottom. Han Fei was puzzled. If he left the chain here, the gravity might be more than 10 times. Otherwise, how could he sink so fast? Han Fei shouted to the armorist, "Come on, work hard, swim up. You can do it." Han Fei jumped on the chain and didn't need to run at all. He just slid over like skiing. In front, The manipulator glanced back. Seeing that it was Han Fei coming, she immediately buckled forward with vines like crazy. Fortunately, she was almost done, and Han Fei was still more than a kilometer away from her. There was still time. However, she didn't expect that the chain under her feet began to shake. He looked back, only to see Han Fei gliding over at an incredible speed. Is this possible? The person hurried, but when she was less than 300 meters away from the other side, Han Fei caught up with her. Han Fei said, "Girl, get out of the way. Don't block the way." The little girl from an unknown town turned pale with fright and hurriedly used her vines to hold herself up. Then he jumped to the side, which stunned Han Fei. She had already done this. How could she still bully her? So, Han Fei stepped on the girl's vines and was about to run over. However, when he stepped on the girl's vines, the vines suddenly rioted. Han Fei frowned slightly, jumped up abruptly, and cut all the vines with a branch in his hand. The girl fell directly into the cliff. Han Fei still had time to say to the girl via voice transmission, "Bye-bye." Han Fei was also falling, but he buckled the chain with one hand, turned around, and landed on the chain again. The whole set of movements was so smooth that many people were stunned. However, there was still a little distance between Han Fei and the other side. When he ran forward again, he saw a soul warrior standing at the other end of the chain in front of him, slashing down with a long knife in his hand, ready to cut the chain. "Hey, Han Fei, you didn't expect this day, did you?" Han Fei narrowed his eyes, and the embroidery needle appeared in his hand. A dazzling light burst out from his fist, and he punched the embroidery needle. The next moment, Han Fei jumped up, jumped on the embroidery needle, and flew to the other side as if flying on a sword. 300 meters was too close. As long as he used enough strength, he didn't have to worry about falling at all. Seeing that Han Fei had such a trick, the man immediately ran wildly. Han Fei smiled, took out the fishing rod in his hand, and threw it out with a swish. The man didn't expect that Han Fei could use the 1,000-mile fishing technique so skillfully, and he was directly caught by Han Fei. When Han Fei landed in front of him, the man blinked. "Brother Han, do you believe me if I say I mistook you for someone else just now?" Han Fei pointed to the cliff abyss and said, "Do you want to jump, or do you want me to help you?" Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 593. The Abyss of Chains was just an appetizer for climbing the mountain. From the beginning of Han Fei's departure to the present, it had only taken him half an hour. On the abyss, there were still people struggling, but Han Fei had already started to run around the mountain. Why did he run around the mountain? Of course, he had to choose a suitable position and climb up. This was no different from rock climbing with bare hands. In Han Fei's opinion, this inverted giant peak was extremely advantageous for two types of people. The first type was the manipulator, who could summon spiritual plants and climb up through the spiritual plants. At this moment, Han Fei saw a girl stuck to the rock wall with vines. However, the girl only climbed less than 100 meters before she began to slide down. It could be seen that the vines often broke, or the vines couldn't extend out of the rock crevices. Anyway, Han Fei watched for 100 minutes, but the girl not only didn't climb above 100 meters, but also fell 10 meters down. Han Fei shook his head. It seemed that the manipulator was not strong enough. Maybe this person's strength was limited. Han Fei tried and only climbed about 10 meters. He felt that there were very few places where he could bear the force. When he tried to use the power of Little Fatty to suck it in his hand, he immediately felt that it was much easier. Han Fei didn't rush to go up, but continued to run in circles. If this trial was so simple, it wouldn't have been set to 6 hours. If there was no gravity, it would only take an hour, or even less, and it would definitely be enough. After running around for a long time, Han Fei saw that the rock wall was full of people. The tallest one had climbed 700 or 800 meters. Then, Han Fei saw a figure flashing like a monkey. Who else could it be but Xia Xiaochan? However, at this moment, Xia Xiaochan had climbed nearly a kilometer. Han Fei said to her via voice transmission, "Be careful." I'm going to check on Lu Renkuang and the others. Xia Xiaochan was distracted, and the stones in her hand broke. She responded helplessly, "Don't talk to me." But at this moment, Han Fei had already run away. For people who could teleport like Xia Xiaochan, gravity was of little significance. She aimed at the target and flashed away. However, at the moment when she flashed out, she would still be suddenly oppressed, and then she could flash again. When Han Fei saw Lu Renkuang, he found that the fatty was squatting at the foot of the mountain, preparing his bloodthirsty broadsword. Han Fei was lost for words. "Wait, what are you doing here?" Lu Renkuang was overjoyed to see Han Fei. "Do you think my bloodthirsty broadsword can take me up?" Han Fei rolled his eyes. "What are you thinking? The mountain seemed to be 7 to 8,000 meters tall. You can slash 7 to 8,000 meters with one slash? Even if your saber can go up, can a fat person like you hang on the saber? I'm willing to bet that you won't even make it a kilometer before you fall." "Really?" Lu Renkuang, however, gave up the idea of drawing his knife. He rubbed his belly. "Then I can only climb up bit by bit? How long will it take?" Han Fei glanced at the rock wall and said, "It's indeed difficult, but you are an armorist with a sturdy body anyway. Are you afraid that you can't climb up?" Lu Renkuang randomly picked a protruding rock and said, "I've already climbed 100 meters, and I crushed this protrusion. Then I fell down." Han Fei couldn't help but lean forward to take a look, only to find that the small protrusion was only the size of a thumb. It was much more difficult to climb up with this thing than rock climbing. Immediately, Han Fei pressed it with his hand, only to find that it was directly broken by him. Han Fei was speechless. This shows that we have to properly control our own strength. Our strength can't be small, or we can't withstand gravity, or we can easily break these small rocks. Lu Renkuang was speechless. "I know. Then how much strength do you think we should use?" Han Fei glanced at him. "Can't you find Xiaobai? She is a manipulator. Can't you do it?" Lu Renkuang's eyes lit up. "That's a good idea." So Han Fei and Lu Renkuang circled around the giant peak again. During this period, they saw a dozen people who were gathering together and cooperating with each other. For manipulators were trying to make the spirit plants latch onto the rock wall. There were more and more people at the foot of the mountain. When Han Fei arrived, there might only be a few hundred people here. However, after Han Fei ran half a lap, he could see people almost everywhere at the foot of the mountain. Most of these people had already started to climb. After they realized that this was a gravity secret realm, they knew that time must be very precious. And when climbing, as long as they used the right strength, they would be able to climb. Therefore, it was a competition of whose strength was more accurate and whose speed was faster. However, these people were just climbing and had never thought that there was no other way but to climb. Some people might be thinking, but when they saw that others had already climbed hundreds of meters, they became anxious. They didn't have a good idea in their minds, so they became anxious and also started to climb. When Han Fei found Luo Xiaobai and Zhang Xuanyu, he found that the two had climbed more than 500 meters high. Besides, the two of them were very fast and didn't seem to have climbed for long. Immediately, Lu Renkuang said via voice transmission, "Wait for me." Luo Xiaobai lowered her head and found that Han Fei and Lu Renkuang had run down at some point. Immediately, two vines dangled down. Immediately, Lu Renkuang grabbed the vines. However, as soon as he pulled, dozens of vines on Zhang Xuanyu's side suddenly collapsed. He was hanging upside down on the cliff. Zhang Xuanyu said helplessly, "Kuang Kuang, don't use so much strength. I told you not to eat so much, but you only know how to eat." With a thought from Luo Xiaobai, a large number of small leafy vines like Boston creepers were sucked to the rock wall. Luo Xiaobai said, "It doesn't matter. The four of us can barely hold on. However, Han Fei, you have to give me some spiritual energy. Besides, Lu Renkuang, you can't completely count on the vines. The gravity on this rock wall is greater than outside, and it's not easy to be sucked." Han Fei thought for a while. "What about eating spiritual fruits?" Luo Xiaobai thought for a while. Eating spiritual fruits will cause the spiritual energy in the body to surge, which will easily lead to spiritual energy instability. At that time, the four of us will definitely fall down. Besides, have you noticed that there are a lot of people near us? Han Fei turned his head and looked. There were probably nearly 100 people on the nearby cliff. Except for a dozen familiar faces from the Blue Sea town, the others were all new faces. Han Fei's face darkened. Were these people waiting for Luo Xiaobai and the others to climb up and then attack them? Han Fei grinned. Got it. With a swish, Han Fei took out his Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers. In an instant, arrow light shot out everywhere, and the sky was full of arrow shadows. Han Fei, don't go too far. We're not disturbing you. Han Fei, you're maliciously stopping us from climbing the mountain. Han Fei snorted coldly. This is the Thug Academy. Irrelevant people, please leave. In an instant, hundreds of people fell one after another. There was a big problem with climbing the mountain. As long as someone attacked from below, the people above couldn't climb at all. Someone immediately shouted, Han Fei, if we stay here, you won't be able to climb the mountain. Someone said, Han Fei, at this time, we have to trust each other. Han Fei sneered. Trust? Why do you talk about trust with strangers? Han Fei said, Xiaobai, come down. Luo Xiaobai was confused. Han Fei said, entangle me with tough vines. I will climb up first and then drag you up. Zhang Xuanyu was stunned. Are you sure? Lu Renkuang asked, how long will you climb? Han Fei grinned. It's a pity that Xia Shaochan has already climbed up. The others are not trustworthy. As long as Xiaobai's vines are tough enough and don't be cut off by others, it will be very difficult for me to pull her up. Xia Shaochan trusted Han Fei and the others too much. In her simple mind, climbing the mountain shouldn't be a problem. The only person she thought of before going up was Lu Renkuang. This guy is very lazy. He should go to Xiaobai for help, right? But she didn't know that the problem was too simple. If it were so simple, such a test question wouldn't have been set. Luo Xiaobai looked at the extremely high mountain. Once the vines are more than a kilometer away from me, my control will be weak. More than 3,000 meters, I can't control them. You need to remind us then. Han Fei grinned. Got it. Immediately, Luo Xiaobai and the others jumped down. This was the third time they climbed. Before, some people were sabotaging them. After being beaten away by them, some people came to sabotage them. As a result, although Luo Xiaobai and the others were strong, they couldn't do anything at this time. In the distance, there were still people watching coldly. Someone sneered. No matter who goes up, they can't go up. In Han Fei's perception range, it seemed that many villains were ready to take action. On the top of the mountain, he couldn't perceive them. It seemed that there was an array on the top of the mountain. After Luo Xiaobai grabbed Han Fei, she calmly analyzed, although I don't know why, the three of us may be besieged later. There will definitely be people who will stop you from climbing the mountain. Let's try it first and find out who has ulterior motives. The third chapter? Don't panic, there's still one more chapter. End of this chapter. Chapter 594. It was obviously unrealistic to fight nearly 4,000 people at the same time. They communicated for a while and knew that someone was targeting them. These people seemed to be from every academy, so Luo Xiaobai and the others couldn't determine which academy they should attack at all. Coincidentally, Han Fei came. And judging from Han Fei's tone, it didn't seem too difficult to go up. They immediately made a plan. Thousands of thin vines intertwined and clasped Han Fei's body. Han Fei didn't rush up but waited for Luo Xiaobai's vines to stretch out long enough. Otherwise, which manipulator would have the ability to create such a long vine on a 10,000-meter tall cliff? Han Fei perceived that someone was waiting. They didn't intend to climb at all and seemed to be waiting for him to take action. People from the Fiery Dragon Town? Not only them, but also the Wind Thunder Town. Well, the Sky Marshal Town is also among them. But in Han Fei's perception, the people of at least 8 towns seemed to be planning to attack him. Han Fei couldn't help saying, Zhang Xuanyu, there seem to be a lot of people. Can you resist them? Zhang Xuanyu licked his lips and said, I can try, but I'm not sure. This gravity secret realm has a great impact on me. However, it seems to have a great impact on them. Han Fei said, I'll go up first. It's useless to play with these fancy tricks. Let me see which town is targeting us. See if I don't kill them later. After a while, when the vines had reached 5,000 meters, Han Fei suddenly jumped onto the rock wall. Those thumb-sized rock crevices and bumps were basically broken by Han Fei's fingers. However, Han Fei was climbing quickly with the help of this temporary force. On the top of the mountain, under the sky-hanging mirror, the presidents of other academies shook their heads slightly. In this way, he needs to maintain countless bursts of spiritual energy. Even if he can go up to 7,000 meters, what about the thousands of meters that are almost parallel to the ground? The top of this mountain was T-shaped, almost parallel to the ground. Most people could actually go up to 7,000 meters. But when it came to this area, the difficulty was not just a little bit higher. No one knew how many people would fall from here. As a result, very few people could really reach the top of the mountain in the end. However, just as the president finished speaking, a figure flickered on the top of the mountain. Xia Xiaochan had already reached the top. All the deans. At a glance, Xia Xiaochan saw a group of mayors and presidents who were gathered together and looking at a huge phantom in the void. She also saw that many people were climbing up that illusory figure. After searching for a while, Xia Xiaochan saw Luo Xiaobai and the others, as well as Han Fei who was leaping up. Han Fei's speed was extremely fast, thanks to Ren Tianfei's 7 stars array. His control over his own body was so precise that it made one's hair stand on end. At this moment, Han Fei seemed to be running on a rock wall. Many people were dumbfounded. Damn it, do you think this is flat ground? When he climbed to an altitude of 1,000 meters, he sensed that someone was besieging Luo Xiaobai and the others. Therefore, Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renkuang took action, and a fierce battle broke out under the cliff. However, Han Fei did not stop climbing. Because these people were all miscellaneous soldiers, there were still people who had not come out. Nearly 100 breaths of time passed. Han Fei had felt that the Luo Xiaobai and the others couldn't hold on any longer. Suddenly, he heard Luo Xiaobai's voice transmission. The mastermind should be the Wind Thunder Town. The Fiery Dragon Town and the Million Gold Town are also the main forces. You can come down now. Swish. Han Fei stepped on the rock wall, kicked it, and fell rapidly from the sky. With the blue sea wandering dragon bow in his hand, he shot anyone he found along the way. Immediately, someone roared, Han Fei, you bastard. Han Fei, we have no grudge against each other. Why are you attacking us? Han Fei, you've gone too far. Why are you attacking us? Han Fei said to everyone in the 36 towns, listen to me. Anyone who attacks the Thug Academy will be punished like the Wind Thunder Town, the Fiery Dragon Town, and the Million Gold Town. As Han Fei's voice sounded, the surroundings shook. When Han Fei fell from the sky, a golden fist shadow fell from the sky. Those who were besieging Luo Xiaobai and the others were all stunned. He jumped down just like that? Someone shouted, run! Han Fei said angrily, let's see where you are going. Bam! The fist mark broke through the air and appeared 100 meters away in an instant. Some students from the Fiery Dragon Town were no match for it and were sent flying hundreds of meters by Han Fei's punch. Some students from the Million Gold Town ran too slowly and were punched into the ground by Han Fei. The students from the Wind Thunder Town were generally very strong, all above the peak level of the ultimate color, but they still couldn't resist Han Fei's art of invincibility. With a thought from Luo Xiaobai, the vines around Han Fei's waist were automatically untied. Luo Xiaobai said, stop crawling. Let's deal with the people from the 3 towns first. On the top of the mountain, the presidents were all stunned. Why did they suddenly fight? Old Bai sneered. Have you forgotten? We are thugs to begin with. They shouldn't have taken the assessment with personal grudges in the first place. After all, 4 of the 5 people in our school have been evaluated as vengeful. A president frowned. So what? How can they be sure that it was the people from the Wind Thunder Town, the Fiery Dragon Town, and the Million Gold Town who attacked them. The people who attacked them included students from at least 10 academies. Old Bai smiled again. Have you forgotten that Luo Xiaobai from our school has excellent grades? What's her evaluation? She has strong logical judgment and thinking ability. These people besieged our Thug Academy, which was obviously premeditated. At this moment, they were just discovered. Down below, Han Fei was chasing a group of people. 5 or 6 strong masters from the Wind Thunder Town communicated with each other, contacted dozens of strong masters from the Fiery Dragon Town and the Million Gold Town, and turned around to fight. Although they knew that Han Fei's combat power was extremely strong, he was outnumbered. No matter how strong Han Fei was, could he be stronger than so many of them? But the result was beyond their expectations. A small branch appeared in Han Fei's hand. Rays of knife light shot out one after another, reaching everyone in an instant. Oh no, how is this possible? How can he be so fast? This knife is unstoppable. What kind of weird combat skill is this? In the preliminary round, Han Fei only attacked once, and from beginning to end, there was only one knife light. How could these people know? Han Fei had merged the void-breaking technique and the art of invincibility into the knife light, so they couldn't dodge it at all. After a few slashes, everyone vomited blood. And this was when Han Fei didn't use his full strength. If he used his full strength, these people would probably be killed with one slash. Han Fei wouldn't kill anyone. Otherwise, he would fail this assessment. These people all lay on the ground, looking horrified. Han Fei grinned and said, "Can you try again? Just do it, but don't let me meet you in the unknown place. Otherwise, I will kill every one of you until the 3 towns are wiped out." At this moment, Han Fei was like an evil villain, violent, arrogant, and crazy. Including Luo Xiaobai and the other 2, they began to run around the mountain. Whenever they found students from these 3 towns on the rock wall on the way, they would shoot them down without letting any of them go. The people from the other academies were dumbfounded. What's going on? Can't they just climb the mountain? They don't even know the purpose of this assessment and they started to fight? Zhang Xuanyu's 9-layered waves in the furious sea surged out. Several students from the Million Gold Town vomited blood and retreated. "Zhang Xuanyu, why are you targeting us?" Zhang Xuanyu sneered. "Because someone from your town really attacked us." Those students were speechless. "We didn't attack them." Zhang Xuanyu sneered. "I don't care. Anyway, someone from your town did. So, none of your towns can go up." Luo Xiaobai controlled the vines to sweep around and launched the Grand Spirit summoning art. All the students from the 3 towns within a kilometer fell down. Besides, Luo Xiaobai was even more ruthless. With the full power of the Grand Spirit summoning art, these falling people were stunned in midair and smashed to the ground one after another. In only an hour, 80% of the students from the 3 towns were knocked down by Han Fei and the others, which made the other towns tremble. Everyone was speechless. Isn't this too fucking fierce? Just a few people want to target you. What about you? You've knocked down all the students from the other towns? Someone shouted. Luo Xiaobai, hundreds of us can't beat the 4 of you? Luo Xiaobai responded indifferently, if you don't want to go to the top, you can try. If you want, just tell the people in your town who have evil intentions. If you fight again, this matter will never end. Someone's heart skipped a beat. In the future, they would have to deal with these people in the unknown place. They couldn't afford to offend them now. Otherwise, according to the character of these thugs, they would definitely kill them. At this moment, the mayors of the Wind Thunder Town, the Fiery Dragon Town, and the Million Gold Town, including the teachers, all looked extremely gloomy. This was especially so for the Wind Thunder Town. As the host of the friendly competition, they had been sabotaged. Besides, they had lost so miserably. Wasn't this a slap in the face? On the top of the mountain, there was still only Xia Xiaochan. Xia Xiaochan had begun to circle around the entire top of the mountain. Soon after, she saw an acquaintance, Jing Changfeng of the Wind Thunder Town. At this moment, Jing Changfeng had climbed above 7,000 meters, and he had climbed half of the rock wall parallel to the ground. The president of the Wind Thunder Town was shocked, but Jing Changfeng looked overjoyed. The ghost god chain was really powerful. He should be the first to reach the top of the mountain. However, as soon as he showed his head, he saw a foot stepping down. Jing Changfeng? The author says, don't urge me to update these 2 days. From the day after tomorrow, please urge me with monthly tickets. The unknown place is coming soon. End of this chapter. That you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.